Every Supercross fan remembers this moment. Zach Osborne versus Joey Savacci. One last race, and only one would leave a Supercross champion. First turn, Zach goes down and the championship slips away. But somehow Zach claws his way back through the field, turning disaster into redemption, putting everything on the line to become a champion.
Lanes to go. Osborne's here. The bevel is on to the checkers and the title. Osborne to the inside. Takes him out. Oh, Savacci's in the dirt. Osborne, final corner, and the title.
It's just unreal.
Congratulations. We'll let you enjoy this.
Dude, that's crazy, bro.
Sorry, I've only watched that part once.
You've never watched that bit again?
No.
To understand Zach's story, you have to rewind the tape. Not every career follows a straight line. A standout amateur, Zach entered the professional ranks with hype and pressure, only to find the path more difficult. Instead of fading out, he left the comfort of the US scene and went to Europe, rebuilding his career away from the spotlight. And when he returned, his career began to unfold. After 2 seasons finding his footing back in America with Geico Honda, a move to Rockstar Husqvarna quickly led to his first win.
The next weekend in Atlanta, I finally won, and it was just like the biggest weight.
So
completely.
that win changed you as a person.
Oh, absolutely. As a racer, yeah.
A 250 Supercross title followed, and later a 450 Pro Motocross Championship. A career defined by resilience. But when you do a full career deep dive into Zach Osborne, you go, Jesus, dude, this is insane. Gypsy Gang, welcome Zach Osborne to the podcast.
I met a gypsy.
It's pretty good. It's kind of pineapple-y.
Yeah, what else?
Mango, maybe?
Passion fruit.
Passion fruit? I wouldn't know that one.
Oh, you don't have passion fruit here? I
Yeah.
suppose it's like a very tropical thing.
Yeah. I went my whole entire life and never had a mango until like 2 years ago.
Bro.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm from Virginia. There's no mangoes in Virginia,
There's
right?
no mangoes in Virginia.
Yeah. So when we moved to Florida, I would always see Marv eating them at the track. And then like one day randomly bought one and I was like, oh, wow.
This is living.
How have I missed this my whole life? Because
Dude.
they're incredible.
So when I was a kid, my grandparents had a massive mango tree.
Yeah.
Like huge.
Really?
And you have like a special net. It's almost like a lacrosse. You know, like
Yeah.
a lacrosse thing?
Mm-hmm.
So you have one and it's got like this little slit in the middle, and then you've got like a telescopic pole,
You just pull them.
and you just pull the mangoes down.
Nice.
But they're the sickest trees
Yeah.
for climbing.
We
Like,
have
used
a
to tree
couple in our
houses
backyard,
and-
but they're not producing yet. They're a couple years out.
Sick. So where are you living now?
Florida.
So you're in Claremont
Yeah,
still?
I lived like on the west side of Claremont
Yep.
the whole time, and then I bought 5 acres there in 2019, and then we built in 22, and yeah, been there since.
And you obviously like it.
Yeah, love it.
Okay.
Yeah, I know it's kind of weird, but
No, I mean, I like it.
yeah,
Anytime that I've been there. But it's just, I feel like it's rare for guys to stay.
Yeah, we didn't intend to stay, but we did.
What were the decisions to?
There's a lot of liberties for homeschoolers in Florida, like a ton
Okay.
of liberties, and that's really key.
Yeah.
I hate cold weather.
Yes.
That's a huge piece, and yeah, just kind of enjoy it. Really, I don't know. We have the ability to travel, so if we get tired of summer, we just go somewhere else for a couple days, and
Yeah.
it's fine.
That's sick.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's a good spot.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if I wasn't, like we spoke at lunch,
Yeah.
I mean, I would struggle to move from California, especially doing this. But I could go to Florida.
Well, like I said, we almost bought a house here, but it was more like a rental vacation kind of thing.
Yeah.
We always intended to move back to Virginia, where I'm from, but just like my parents got a divorce in 2017, and it was just just kind of moved the needle back to Florida, and we just enjoyed
Stay
it, so
out
we
of
stayed.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the homeschool thing?
Like there's tons of things. One is that homeschoolers can play high school sports for like
Ooh.
the team that they choose that doesn't really affect our kids, but that's a huge piece. That's why a lot of homeschoolers move there.
Okay.
There's a scholarship program that the state will give you $10,000 per year per kid to cover any costs
For
for a homeschooler. So like, say
Really?
you have a kid, you want to homeschool him, you enroll him in the scholarship, you get, if you want to pay for his sports, if you want to pay for his piano lessons, if you want to send them to film school. It pays for all that. We don't use it, but a lot of families do. Vaccines, it's another thing. Like they're very
Not mandatory.
yeah,
Yeah.
not mandatory now at all. So yeah, a lot of things.
What made you decide with homeschool?
Well, it started with my daughter when I was still racing, and it just kind of evolved into
Yeah.
her being homeschooled.
I don't know that I want to put my kids in school.
Yeah. Are we recording?
Yeah.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, this is just how this works.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah, we're just doing it. Zach Osborne, everybody, just in case you didn't know.
I'm here.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to put my kids in school.
Yeah.
I hated school, dude. It was the worst 12 years of my life.
See, I was better. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it.
Yeah, but you're cool.
I wasn't though. I was like kind of mid pack at school. I wasn't a jock, so it was just I wasn't great, wasn't terrible. And then in 6th grade, I moved to a private school, and that was terrible. I liked some of the dynamics. Like I really liked the uniform thing because it took so much
Yeah,
popularity contest out of it all.
100%.
But I struggled really bad. Like they were a whole level. Like at public school, I was sort of A's, AB, and went there and was like, they were like, yeah, you're not, this ain't it, dog. So
you like riding bikes?
yeah, you better do
You
that.
should do that.
Yeah.
Keep doing that.
So I want to control what my kids learn and know. And
Man,
my
I've
wife's-
always said I was smart at school, but completely disinterested. And
Yeah.
I didn't want a bar of it, and I would get obsessed with things, and I would learn everything about the thing that I was into,
yeah,
and I didn't want a bar of the things that I wasn't. And I feel like after my school experience, let's say my kid's into surfing. I always use this analogy. There is everything. There is science, there's geography, there's biology, there's physics.
yeah,
There's every single thing that you need to learn.
right,
You can teach a kid through what they're interested in.
Yeah.
And obviously you have to have a certain level of freedom and resources, and it's not like everyone can do it.
right, yeah,
But at least for me, I'm working towards a life where I can be like, what's this little bastard into?
yeah.
Let's help him learn or her learn through those things. But with that being said, my brother loved school.
Yeah,
He was sweet,
my little girl, she would be fine in school, I think. But my middle son, he needs a lot of stimulation, a lot of projects, and he would be like one of those.
Nightmare kids.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the kid that's going to the principal's office every day, you know.
Yeah.
And there's still days where like my wife's like, "Hey, Bodie's going outside today, and you need to keep him busy," you know.
Yeah.
So we're building the Z50 in the garage, or cutting the grass or whatever.
Yeah.
Like those are life skills and learning too, you know.
What's an average day look like for you these days?
Is
there an average
There is
day?
no average
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
I wake up every day. That's about the only average thing.
Yeah.
As we were talking about, own part of a sustainable, recyclable straw
What's
company.
the website?
CasaPlantar.com.
Let's look that up. Let's show. Let's bit of an ad at the start of the
I
pod
think.
for you. We'll find it. What's it called?
CASA. No, CASAPLANTAR.
Palantir? Nah.
AR. There you go.
All right.
Go to that Instagram. No, I'll have to look it up for you because it's not hitting.
That ain't it.
No,
We'll find it. It's not there.
go agavestraw.us. This is really a disaster.
That's all right. We can cut this little. We can tighten this up so
There
it
you
looks
go.
like you know what your website is.
Nope. Hold on.
We'll figure it out. While Zach's doing that, we're also going to welcome Wes Williams to the studio. Uncle Wes is playing producer today because my producer decided that he should cartwheel at the end of the rollers, and is now at Palomar Hospital with a broken humerus. You
Yeah,
wanna see
not
it?
ideal. He had a big one.
Did you see it, or did
I
you
did
just
not
know
see
what
it. I
would've
was
been?
I saw where he was down, and it wasn't small because I saw him riding, and he's a decent speed. And if you go down at the end of those rollers, it's gonna hurt. So yeah,
Huge problem.
a big one.
Let's have a. Just tell me if you think this is broken, Zach.
That's cooked. Yeah, that's bad news. He handled it like a champ, though. To be fair, maybe it's because he was a little concussed, but
Dude, I saw Alex ride past him
yeah,
and then come back, and I was like, "Fuck, it's Rones." So then
Yeah.
I got on the Deegan's little 50, and he was just still face down.
Yeah.
He just didn't move. And then I get up to, he's got blood all over his nose, blood everywhere.
I
And
mean, I
was-
could see that he was moving and like awake, but he was hurting.
Yeah, he was very still.
hands and knees, not good.
Yeah.
Just and then whenever they were trying to move him, he was just like, nope, not happening.
Yeah, I got to
One
him
of
and
those
he's like, "Man, I'm sorry. I think I've fucked your helmet." And then he's like, "Is the bike okay?" And I'm like, "Hey,
Are you
none,
okay?
none of this matters,
Yeah.
my friend. None of this matters."
Plantar.earth, Wes.
So yeah, I'm like, you know what, Alpine Stars, thank you for
Yeah.
coming in clutch all the time.
Yeah.
We can get you a new helmet.
We can fix this.
Let's make sure you're okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, agavestraw.com.
Yep.
So this is a little hustle that you've got going on.
Yeah, little side hustle. Also in a epoxy business, garage floors and commercial floors and that kind of stuff.
Really?
Yep. Have a commercial building. Yeah. 10 training clients, 10 athletes that I help on training stuff.
For moto?
Well, moto's just Shane McElrath, Dylan Ferrandis. 3 of the younger guys on PRMX Kawasaki. And then 3 off-road guys, Liam Draper, Angus Reardon, and Hunter Hart, quad guy. And then
Ooh, how's that?
what?
Nah.
No, I've actually just started with him a couple weeks ago, and he's been
Is
super
that
solid.
and so that's like a Make-A-Wish type thing or like a charity?
What?
Like, is it like community service? Like
What?
to help the quad guy?
Oh, no, he's super cool.
That's like community service.
No, he's-
Did you
he's
like
been
get
good.
caught with a DUI or
Yeah.
something?
Listen. No, he's been solid.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
All the quadders are
I
gone.
know. Yeah.
There were only 3 to start with, but now they're all gone.
They're out. They're like, fuck that guy.
It could be like the privateer thing.
All
You're
right,
just,
let's not say
see you
that just
later.
yet. All right, let's get a bit deeper before we go there.
Yeah, so it's pretty hectic.
Yeah.
Three kids at home, homeschoolers. My wife's an absolute all-star. And yeah,
So life's busy.
busy. Yeah.
How old were you when you retired?
I was 31.
Yeah, so you were young.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty young. Well, for now, like
Yeah.
in 2007, that was really old, you know?
You were washed.
Yeah.
In 2007. You know what's crazy? So I don't know where I saw this, but Tomac at A1 was as old as LaRocco at Indy. You remember
Yeah.
the year?
Yeah,
It
and-
was like 05?
Yeah.
Or what,
It's 05
was
when
it 05?
TP jumped on him, I think, right?
I can't remember.
Yeah.
But that was like, so LaRocco won. And I remember, I was young then, but I remember being like, damn,
He's
dude,
old.
a granddad just
Yeah.
won a supercross race.
Yeah.
And we always talked about Mike LaRocco.
Yeah.
Like he was some
Ancient dude.
old ass dude that had no business being on the track. And it's like, no, bro, you were just
Yeah.
ahead of your
And Max
time.
is older than that.
Yeah, you're a beast.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yep. So retired. Maybe I was 32. I won the title when I was 31, turning 32, I think. So yeah. Busy life.
Was it time to just hang it up?
It wasn't. It was I was pretty torched and my back was not
That's
good.
Right. Yep.
But there was no, like, I wasn't going to go for surgery, and that's kind of what they wanted me to do, just for, like, hard timelines. Like, this is the timeline.
To get back for
This-
racing,
yeah.
you have to
Yeah.
have the surgery. Right.
So I was not really willing to do that at 31 because the, like, hard statistics are you're 50%, you'll be better, like, some percent better, like 1% better or good, or 50% worse, the same or worse. And like Brittany and I sat down and we were just like, it's not really worth that risk, you know, because once you cut, then you can't fix it. Like it's only cutting more from there, right? So, yeah, we just felt like that it wasn't the right thing, and you know, now I've 4 years on, like I've never had a back surgery, don't have any back problems, but maybe should have done like more like a sabbatical type thing. than the hard R word, like the retirement. I don't know, or the R word, like retirement.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Crazy.
yeah,
Just on top.
yeah.
Dipped.
It was my second, like I'd done 2 full 450 seasons, like, you know, won a championship in the second season. Sure, it was special circumstances, but like even in 19, going into 19 was by far the best riding I had ever done in my life. Like it still to this day, like the best I ever rode a motorcycle was pre-season 2019. And
Still on that older gen frame.
yeah, same as the 20 gen frame, but crashed a couple days before Christmas, broke my collarbone, 6-week deal, and you know, it's just hard to get back to that level, right? And,
Yeah, you're just playing catch up for the whole season.
yeah. Coop went on to win the championship, which was cool to see. We did a lot of work that off season, and yeah, but that was the peak of riding for me, I think, Supercross especially.
So I actually got scammed recently on a credit card, which was a nightmare to deal with. A dude in the UK bought $3,000 of Lego, believe it or not, and some Nando's. So I had to cancel the card, I had to wait for a new one, I had to dispute the charges, the whole deal. And this experience, this was the second time it happened to me. And it really just made me realize how important proper security is when it comes to anything to do with your money. And this is why I started using Cash App, which was awesome when they reached out and decided to help us out on the podcast. Your security deserves to be a priority, and Cash App treats it that way. With Security Lock, Cash App requires a successful Face ID or biometric authentication to access your account. It's like your money is protected by your own personal bodyguard, even if your phone is lost or stolen. Plus, if you're about to send money to someone new and Cash App notices something looks a bit off or that you might be falling for a scam, it will send you a warning before the money is sent to confirm that everything looks right. Turn on Security Lock in your Cash App settings today and pay attention to scam warnings to keep your money safe. Learn more at cash.app/security. For a limited time, new Cash App customers can earn $10 if they use code SECURE10 in their profile at sign up and send $5 to a friend within 14 days. Terms apply. Cash App is a financial service platform, not a bank. Banking services provided by Cash App's bank partners. Prepaid debit cards issued by Sutton Bank. Member FDIC. Discounts and promotions provided by Cash App, a Block Inc. brand. Visit cash.app/legal/podcast for full disclosures. It's wild that you can tell this was the best.
Oh yeah,
like
you know
what? How do you know? What makes you
just
know that?
it's easy. Everything comes at you so slow. It's just mellow. Heart rate's low because it's not so stressy. You know, everything's not like today. You know, I ride once a week, sometimes 2 times a week nowadays, and I haven't ridden since Friday before last, so like 10 days now. And today, the first session, everything was like already there before I got there. You know, like the speed, even though I'm not going nearly as fast as I used to, this the stuff comes at me so freaking fast now.
Yeah.
And for me, Supercross was always way tougher. Like it was something that I had to really dig and grind at. And that was the best for me of Supercross.
Just easy.
Yeah, it just felt easy. Just felt natural. For really, like 17, I was pretty good, but like I had done so much work on that motorcycle, and that chassis, that platform. Like I had 2 years on the same fork setting. Like that doesn't really happen that often. So like I knew every millimeter of what that thing was going to do. So that was kind of a special scenario. But like for sure, 450 riding 18 off season going into 19 was the pinnacle for me.
It's wild the detail and the level that you would be able to feel compared to someone like me that's just a very average, like I'm just like the everyday guy.
Yeah.
And
I think that's one thing that people like really get wrong, like fans, is they don't understand when these guys say like, "Oh, made a change and it wasn't the right direction." Sure, they chose the change and they should know that direction, you know, pretty well. But like I've told some of my friends this, they're like, "How does this happen?" And I'm like, you don't understand that like what they're feeling with, you know, maybe they did like 1 mil on the fork or like, you know, there's so many little things that they could do, right? But what they didn't like to them riding a motorcycle at that level with that said uncertainty is like you driving down the interstate at 70 miles an hour with a flat tire that's just like, it's really bad, like really, really bad, you know? Sometimes it's medium bad, but like when they get on the podium and say, I missed, it's like they were feeling it, you know?
And then the way that, at least the way that I think about it, is that to go fast, you have to know what the bike is going to do exactly. And there be no surprises, nothing catching you off guard. Like, I remember there was it was the first time I ever rode with really good suspension. And I remember I like landed off this jump and it was actually at a race and I was like really trying to send it into this turn, but I overjumped this jump and I looked and I was like bracing for impact like I was on the suspension that I'd always ridden, and I just didn't feel it.
Yeah.
And it was almost like when you pick up an empty cup but you think it's full.
Yeah.
That same feeling.
Yeah, I understand.
And I'm like, it just made me think about things differently, because I'm like, I thought something was going to happen that didn't. And that's kind of what you guys are doing. Like, you're working on making this ultimate motorcycle that feels like it's you. And at no point it feels like an empty cup when
Yeah.
you think it's full.
Yeah, I mean, I would have probably benefited, especially in my 450 career, to change more stuff. But I wanted to know, like, for me, the variables and the systems that I had in place were the systems were better and more fixable to me than the variables of changing things. Like, you know, like I said, I rode 16 and 17 the whole seasons on the same fork, and like, but I knew so much about that bike, and like that all leads to that Vegas night where that was like truly. There was maybe 4 times in my career where I felt like that, like where it's truly a flow state. You're not even, it's like almost like an out of body autopilot experience, which was incredible. Like something I'll never probably experience again. But that level of comfort and that level of knowing and certainty is where that stuff comes from. And I think, you know, you see it quite often with Eli. Like, I don't know that he's always like that much of a flow state, but when he gets that little like flick with his wrist, I don't even know how to explain it, but
Yeah.
you can see it. Like,
He
that's when he's
comes into
feeling
the
it.
turns and it's just...
Yeah. It's effortless. It's one motion, you know?
I think Jet gets there like
Yeah.
on cue almost.
Yeah, I do too.
It's so rare that it ever looks like he's not in that state.
Yeah, and it looks, when I watch him, especially if you watch him like in live or whatever, it's like it's just coming to him so slowly. And that's the thing. Like, when you can slow it down and you can like really pick apart where you're going, where you're putting your tires, and it's incredible.
I actually watched the whole night show with Jet at A2. Bro, the shit he was saying
Yeah.
was actually insane. Like,
Yeah.
it was very cool to sit there. And, I mean, he was, like, shaking before the main.
Yeah.
Had his head down. Like, he was stressing for Hunter.
Yeah.
But then as soon as the gate dropped, locked in.
Yeah.
He was so game face. And he was saying, you got to go here. Switch that line. Like, he was just... It was like he was trying to talk to him, but
Yeah.
obviously he couldn't. The main rhythm section, he's like, you got to learn from that. You're going... Like, he was hitting the outside line, like, to the
Yeah.
left. And then Chase was, like, a little bit inside, because I guess that way he could only scrub out to the left.
Yeah.
Whereas Chase and Coop and everyone was
Could angle
scrubbing
it to-
the other way.
Yeah.
And then Jet's like, you got to learn from that. You should be watching that.
Yeah.
You know? Like, the level that he's thinking
Yeah, I think if
about
you've
this
been at
is
that level,
wild.
you're watching something a little different.
Yeah.
For sure. Like, I sit with friends and watch Supercross, and I'm like, hey, what about that? And they're like, what do you mean? And then, we play it back, and they're like, oh, okay. That's a different level that we didn't see.
I wasn't watching that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's a special thing when you have experienced that, and when you see guys experiencing it, even in other sports, I can see it, and it's freaking awesome.
Dude, you watch a Formula One with Danny, like qualifying,
Yeah.
he can tell you the lap time.
Really? Yeah.
As soon as they get like a few turns from the finish,
Yeah.
he's like 52-1. And it's like 52-1-9. He's like, oh, I was out.
I saw the video of Max the other day. He's like, I think he's blindfolded, but he has headphones on.
Yep.
And he's like, it goes down the straightaway, and then there's like a long third or fourth gear, and he's like instantly like 15 seconds in the lap, he's like, Australia.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah. And I'm pretty sure most guys could do that with motocross tracks.
I
Like,
would love to see that.
yeah, I'm pretty sure if you had a good GoPro where it was
Let's do it right now.
a relatively
So close your eyes.
okay.
Let's find a GoPro, 1 lap GoPro. Just don't look at the screen. Just try and find a 1 lap GoPro of like a national track. 1 rider, 1 lap. Let's see if we can do it. Because I thought about this after the MotoGP guys do it too.
Yeah,
So
I think it's a little bit more easy to do with those because
100%.
it's going to be very similar every year. You know, like the prep, the pins, the gear shifts, and that kind of stuff
Yep.
on a motocross bike. But
All right, we're just waiting here. Oh, perfect. Go up. I reckon that's fine. Oh, yeah. Nah. Maybe the first one. All right, stay close, mate. Turn that up. Oh, wait. Pause it, Wes, real quick. Go up the top and select the audio to focus right. Go up. Go to the right. No, go to the right. Go to the right. Yep, there.
probably going to make an idiot of myself right now.
Go sound and then just go to the right. Scarlet USB. There you go. Sorry, go down. Yep. Perfect.
Can you turn it up a bit, Wes?
Here, I'll turn you up. Is that louder?
Yeah.
Do you need help?
No.
Oh, actually, there's something different here. All right, you've just been kind of punked a bit, but let's see if you can get it. So this is a left-hander, if that helps.
Unadilla.
Nah,
No?
East Coast though. I feel like you need a race. Go back. Maybe the one you were gonna. Maybe the one.
What was that one?
That was Southwick, but it was. Bro, he cut.
When you said, do you need help? I was like, oh, it's Southwick, but then I freaking bailed on it.
Go down. Yeah, just no. Change the track. Yeah. Sorry, mate. We're making you sit here with your eyes closed. Okay. But I have wondered this because you see the MotoGP guys. They're so precise.
Can you
and
get
it's
one with
so-
like a start, like a moto start?
Yeah, that's what we've got now.
Okay.
All right. So this is the start of a national.
Hangtown?
Bang. That's crazy, bro.
Oh, dang.
Crazy work.
Yeah.
Let's go. How'd you know?
The start.
jump.
No, the less throttle from the first turn. Like they didn't shut off and turn. They were just
Oh,
flowing.
like trailing around
Yeah.
it? Crazy, bro. You knew 15. You knew before the second turn.
That one's pretty easy.
But yeah, it just goes to show that you guys are so dialed in.
Who is this?
That's
Stu
Kenny.
Or Kenny.
Crazy. That's unreal that you can do that.
I'm proud of that, actually.
Yeah, dude.
Because my buddies and I were talking about it the other day, and they were like, I don't think so. And then they were going to look it up, but then they didn't. So,
Don't look at the screen. I got one more. That
Okay.
I want to see. You guys can keep talking.
This is a fun game. Have you seen the MotoGP guys do it?
no, not the MotoGP guys. I've only just seen that one video of Max where he gets it like 20 seconds in.
All this. All right. Yeah, go full moto. Yeah. I love this game. Is that loud enough?
Redbud?
No.
No?
I feel like this one is a lot harder. East Coast. Kenny's.
Oh, High Point.
No.
No? I don't know then.
Muddy Creek.
Oh, I wouldn't have known that one.
Yeah.
I should know that one, but I wouldn't have.
know that one. That's why I picked it.
Yeah, sorry, didn't even have that one on the radar. I was thinking last year's schedule, but
Sorry, I should
Okay.
have given you a little hint.
Hangtown,
it's okay.
though, is impressive.
yeah, I knew that one pretty quick. That one felt like Redbud because I felt like, yeah, it just sounded right.
Yeah.
It was just your home track.
Yeah, thanks for that, Wes.
Just forgets where he came from. Big Florida guy now,
Florida
you
guy.
know.
If you would have played WW,
Yeah.
I would have known that.
I was going to say, if you played WWE Ranch, bro. No, I mean, you guys are just, that's
1
how,
for 3.
that's how dialed in you guys are, though. It's
Yeah.
pretty insane.
Yeah, it is. Dude, one of the craziest people I know about that stuff is Jason. Jason,
Anderson?
dude, he knows. Like, I remember a lot of Supercross tracks, a lot of Supercross races. I've watched probably more Supercross than 98% of the world. Like, I watch tons of old stuff still.
Even still?
Oh yeah, like if I'm bored sitting in bed, that's what I'm watching. Like,
Really?
yeah. But Jason knows every track he's ever ridden. Like, and like when he talks about it, you can get into it, but remember, but like he knows it. 3 out of the left and then 3 up. You know, I'm like, nah, just give me a second. I'm gonna have to look at the track map up. You know, like he's gnarly. He'd be good at that little game.
What do you think that is? Just a different mind.
Yeah, I don't know. I think just different guys remember different stuff, right?
Man, he was so impressive at World Supercross
Yeah,
at South Africa.
yeah.
Dude. That
He is good, man.
No one was beating him
No.
on that night. And I mean, dude, if Supercross races were 10, you know, like if it was Triple Crowns every weekend, bro, that dude would be very difficult.
He's an
to
incredible
beat.
dirt bike rider.
Bro, there
Incredible.
was you remember the track World Supercross? Did you watch it?
Yeah, I did watch it, but
The triple, and then you went right, rhythm section.
yep,
Dude, the way that he was sliding up that up ramp
yeah,
on the face of that triple, that was unbelievable to me. And Savacci got 6th on the weekend, okay?
Yeah.
So Joey Savacci can definitely ride
Yeah.
Supercross.
Joey's one of the most underrated guys in the sport.
Had literally nothing
Yeah.
in that section of track,
Yeah.
you know, like that. And it was just the confidence in the motorcycle, the feel that he had
Yeah,
through the tires.
when it's hard, man, he's unbelievable, unbelievable. Like test track days where it's really, really bad, he's just like 3 seconds a lap faster, and you're like, yeah, don't even have an answer for
3
that.
seconds,
Yeah,
bro.
just take it to the house and start again tomorrow. Yeah, he's incredible.
That's that New Mexico, though, bro.
Yeah, this is growing up riding that hard stuff.
Well, he was saying, because we were talking about it after the race, and he was saying that the track that he grew up at,
Moriarty.
it
Yeah.
was open like once a month.
Yeah,
And the rest of the time was just out in the desert
yeah. I used to drive by Moriarty on the way to Vegas every year, like for World
for
Mini.
World Minis.
Yeah, and be like, please do not take me there. Like that was my worst nightmare. Like I came from racing Muddy Creek as a kid. You know, it was black dirt and, yeah, just super ruddy and awesome conditions. Like Loretta's was kind of my cup of tea because it was what I rode at
same.
home. You know,
Yeah.
and that stuff in the West was just not for me.
Were you guys similar age coming up?
I'm a little older than him. I think I'm 3 years older than him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we never raced on any sort of amateur stuff, just pro stuff.
Was he pretty incredible back then at like when you went to like Mesquite and stuff?
Yeah, not as special. Not like a standout. You know, he was a good rider, but like it wasn't like he was winning every amateur national or every race that he entered or anything like that. He was good and he won every now and then, but not like that's the guy, you know.
Crazy, eh? And he's just going on. I mean, even on the weekend, like he was
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah, he's still going. Probably 32, 33 years old now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty badass.
How old are you now?
36.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're only just a little bit younger than me.
Yeah.
Because so I remember you were like the dude when
Yeah.
I was a kid.
Yeah.
Like I wanted a KTM 85 so bad.
Yeah.
Or like you guys, super minis for you guys. But you were just the coolest back then. You know, the
Thanks.
Fox gear, just had the whole thing.
It was
going
a
on.
setup for sure. Yeah, grew up just kind of. I wouldn't say like we were rich or anything, but like my dad never spared any expense on my bikes, and you know my parents were super solid.
All
like
in.
never have taken anything from me, and you know always both of them. My dad owned a company, and my mom worked for the company. Like they never like were just sponging from me or anything like that. Like which is kind of rare in this sport, especially where I was kind of in standing, you know, in the sport or whatever. But yeah, I always had good stuff.
Were you making money back then?
No, I never made money as an amateur.
So that was pre the money.
No, there were
making.
people making money. It just was not me. Like the KTM thing, they weren't willing to pay me. They didn't even really have a program much at the time. Like it was basically me, my mechanic, and my parents owned a shop that was basically just a write-off for my racing at the end of the day, I guess.
No way.
Yeah.
And it was a KTM
Yeah,
dealer?
yeah, KTM dealer.
Huh. So that's how it started.
Yeah. And they just built everything. My mechanic did all my engines, and suspension, factory connection was involved a little bit, you know, in the later days, but yeah, it was pretty much our own deal.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
And they were like sneaky the best bikes.
They
But
were
it
the
was
best
before
bikes.
anyone. Was it before anyone knew that they were the
Yeah,
best
well,
bikes?
so no, I mean, it was the first year. So I did not all, but a lot of the R&D in 02 in Germany.
True.
Yeah. And then the bike came out in 03, and I got shipped to Lake Whitney. I had 2 prototype bikes that I rode kind of all winter. And then there were 2 new freshies in a crate that were from the homologation line, basically showed up at Lake Whitney. And then those are the ones I raced. And yeah, they were sick when they came out. They were sick.
How did that come about?
I did a little bit of stuff when I was 10 or 11 for the 65 that came out in 99. 99. And then it was just like I was kind of the only person that was riding the bikes at a high level. And obviously my parents owned the shop. My dad owned a team at one point in 97 and 98, or maybe just 97. And yeah, I don't know. It just kind of all developed, and then they flew my mom and I and my mechanic to Austria. Spent a couple weeks there testing at that track in Munich at the airport. And when I showed up, the bike was really just like a chopped down 125 that they had kind of like hodgepodge together. It had all 125 plastic, so it looked really strange.
Yeah, it was like big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was really good, like super fast, super clean, crisp. Like it was a good bike. And yeah, it came out and it was awesome. I always had good stuff as a kid.
Well, they were super popular in Australia.
Yeah.
So Jeff Leask, you would have met Leask back in the day.
Yeah, so I did a race with Brendan Harrison.
Yeah.
So he's my age. I guess it would be your
Yep.
age too, right?
Yep.
So yeah, we did the Junior World Championship together in 2003 in Italy. So yeah, I know him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they were just the biggest bikes at home.
Yeah.
Everyone had KTM.
Yeah.
All the good kids had
Right.
KTMs. Brendan Harrison was full factory.
Yeah.
For forever. Like Jats Richardson, Todd Waters,
Ty Simmons.
Well, you used to spend a bunch of time with Ty.
Yeah, he
back in the
lived
day.
in my house for
That's right.
better part of 3 years.
What an animal that kid is.
Yeah. His dad, Greg, absolute legend.
Right, with the big rodeo arm.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. I've seen him give Ty some absolute ass weapons. Dude. I've never been to Australia, but like the day that I go, I'm going to Burke and I'm going to get the full experience.
That's the full experience.
Yeah. That's proper Oz, right?
Bro, I went there. So I was working for JDR in Australia.
Yeah.
And then they had the team in the US. And so the very first year, so Ty basically won the Supercross, or like he was racing Supercross at home. And then we basically left there. We drove back to Burke to his place from the last round of Supercross. We spent like 3 days, and it was a full blown bender.
Yeah.
Because like he was so
They kind of own the town, right? Like,
literally
most
bro.
of the town.
He's like the G.
Yeah.
Dude. I mean, that's the shit I can't say on here, but it was like wild. But so we spent 3 days full blown bender
Yeah.
in Burke because he's leaving all his friends, all his family to move to America. He was like drunk crying and like it was just the craziest. We were like getting in fights down the pub, wild, dude.
Yeah.
And then we get on the plane and I remember being on the plane just like, Jesus, dude. That was a wild 3 days. And as soon as we took off, as soon as the plane went back, he just went and I'm just like, dude, my like anxiety and my
Yeah.
cortisol, like we've just been in 3 bar fights in the last
And he just
48
doesn't
hours.
care.
Yeah, and he was just like, just
Gone.
out. I'm like, bro, you are
Sounds
built,
about right.
You are built
It's funny because his
different.
dad is like just a straight cowboy, and Ty's just kind of inherently lazy. So they always were clashing, and that was amazing. It
Yeah,
was
you should've
good,
seen him-
Good times.
You should have seen him trying to get him to train.
Oh yeah, I saw it when he was younger.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He was the exact same when he was riding for a factory team.
yeah,
And he wanted to ride every day.
yeah.
He was
But
like,
nothing else.
yeah, he was like, I don't want to train. He
Yeah.
got to America and told Nate Ramsey, he's like, I don't really train like that, but I will do 340s a day.
Yeah,
So I want to ride every day. And
Yeah.
they're like, well, you can't ride every day because of this. He's like, well, that's how I train. So it was just, he
But
tried
no,
to train with Randy Lawrence and yeah, it was just not
sideways.
a thing.
Yeah, it doesn't really surprise me that much.
You like the training?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
That's like if I had to choose one thing I miss from being a professional racer, it's like just the day-to-day grind, dig. That's me. It's where the money's made for me.
Well, I mean, that's where the money's made for everyone.
Yeah,
And that's
well-
probably why you made a lot of money.
Yeah. I mean, I just got to a point where training was my everyday. It was exactly how I knew if I did the work and I did use, my performance plans and systems that was I was going to win on the weekend or be where I needed to be. And I think Alden helped me with that a lot. I did a lot of extra work before I went there. Like I was surgy, I would say. Like I would do insane like 340s in a day and then take 3 days off, and then when I went there it was like that you don't have to do all that, but you just have to do this steady, and I think that was a huge piece for me. And also like being around Dunge, I feel like I had this idea that once you get to a certain level, it gets
Easier.
easy. And then I was there with him and it was like every day, not a meltdown. Like I don't want
Bro,
to
he
sound
struggled, eh?
disrespectful,
Yeah.
but like, let's change clamps. And I'm like, dude, why? And like he was genuinely spun most days at some point during the day. Like it just wasn't good. Then he'd show up
Searching.
on the weekend and win a championship, and it's like, I don't understand that. But it was very eye-opening and almost gratifying for me that like everybody has these struggles. Like you just haven't been around the right people or like people that were winning enough that
While they struggled.
yeah, while they were having the same exact doubts and anxieties that you have.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a huge piece for me.
I think that there's a thing that there's a certain level of anxiety that I think that you need, some people need,
Yeah.
to take things seriously in a way, or you know what I mean? Like a lot of people do their best work when they feel backed in a corner.
Yeah.
They feel stressed. They it really like keeps them engaged in a sense.
Yeah.
And I feel like some people can't, like Caroli was in here and he was just like, I never had a training program. If I wanted to go running at 1 a.m, I went running at 1 a.m.
Yeah.
If I wanted to go on the boat, some people just can't feel like they're prepared without stressing
Yeah.
and,
Yeah, I definitely I've had struggles with anxiety kind of my whole life, I would say. A lot worse after my Club MX experience, which we can kind of get into. But the going to Alden's was kind of a clean slate for me. It was a feeling that I had never had before where nobody questioned what I was doing. Like nobody was like, "Are you doing enough?" Or "Why didn't you win this weekend?" It was like, "Oh, he's there. He's doing what he's supposed to be doing. If he didn't win, it'll happen, And that was it was, kind of a strange spot for me, because then it was like, okay, I don't have to worry about training anymore. I don't have to worry about these people questioning what I'm doing. What else can I do? Like, how else can I kind of strip this back and put all my brain power towards riding? Because Supercross, like, was hard for me. Like, I was good at it, but, like, winning at it, maybe not, But I was able to, like, really strip my life back to where all I had to do every day was wake up, sit on the spin bike, go to the track, come home, take a nap, eat dinner, go to sleep. And, like, my wife handled everything. My practice mechanic handled everything. My mom was in the motorhome. My meals were right. Like, everything was so perfect and so precise. And it kind of took the anxiety out of it a little bit. Sure, I still got nervous, and it was really hard for me, and, like, I had to be focused. But there was no variables, like I said earlier. Like, the variables scared me more than just sticking to the plan and knowing when I get there I'm going to be 95% every time. And when my 95% were good enough to win, then it was like, I can repeat this, This, I did this on Monday, I ate this on Friday night. Like, we can make a system out of this. And that's what I did. And that's kind of where my success happened.
Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense. And I think that is the Alden effect.
Yeah.
And maybe it's wearing off a little bit. Maybe it's not.
I think he's
there.
changed his I don't want to say philosophy, but dude, when I went there, it was me, Jason, Marvin, and Dunge.
What year was that?
That was
17?
16 going into 17.
Okay, yeah.
And dude, it was so basic, like so simple. And that was the thing that made it so good for me. It was like everything was simplified. Everything was done and dusted. Like we didn't have to think about anything. Like there was water at the track. We didn't have to bring water. Like every little detail that you think doesn't matter, that just takes like a tiny percentage of your brain to think about, that was all done for us, you know? And he had such a good thing going. We were paying a premium for it, but it was the way that it should look, you know? And now there's just a lot of people there, and I think it's just kind of loosened up a little bit. Like then we would weigh in every Tuesday and Thursday, which I always struggled with. Like that was my biggest struggle for my whole career.
But I think that's just a genetic thing, though, right?
Yeah.
Like you're a short dude, stocky,
I like
muscular.
to eat for sure. There's no
Like to
questions
eat.
about that. But
I mean, even if you ate,
perfect. Like
it would still be difficult.
it was hard.
I think.
Yeah, it was
I'm
hard.
the opposite.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's just it's body composition, it's genetics, it's
Yeah.
metabolism.
For sure. So we would weigh every Tuesday and Thursday, and then for me there was pop weigh-ins the first year. So
Yeah. He was almost like your parole officer.
Yeah.
For
pictures
weight.
pictures of every meal I ate, everything I ingested.
Shit, that's got to get draining, bro.
It did, but like at the same time, like for me it was a little bit of solitude. Like if I'm doing this, these guys are doing this, they're winning, it'll happen, you know? Like it was just simple, you know? And we got to a point in the off season, like I showed up weighing like 178 or something, and he was like, 160 is the mark, and I'm like, bro, like there's no shot. Like I just won Budds Creek the week prior on the 250, my first win. Get there, he's like, yeah, you need to drop 20 pounds. I was like, for sure, dude. Like no problem.
Look at your
Let me get on
legs,
that.
though, dude.
Yeah.
Like you have like massive quads.
So I had basically the whole off season to get to 160. But we had that SMX Cup thing, the manufacturer's cup in Germany. Went there, broke my wrist. So most of my off season was cooked. Like I've just put this huge investment in, you know, a little bit out of my league to go there to start with money wise.
What was it? What did it cost back then?
Well, that year they paid $100, I paid $100, but I had a practice mechanic too. So, and I was like, the guy I hired, Keith. He was Kenny's mechanic before. And I was like, look, dude, I can pay you like $3,000 a month. I hope.
Yeah.
You know, give me 2 months and like we go racing, like I'll hook you up. And actually, like by the end of the season, he called me. He was like, that's enough. Like you've paid me enough, you know, because I did good and he was making money. But so I bought a house, went all in. You know, I like my wife was like, if we're gonna do it, like let's just no plan B, make plan A work, right? So Broke my wrist.
What a legend.
Yeah, she's in a whole nother podcast probably, really, if I'm honest. But broke my wrist end of October, I think it was. So scaphoid surgery, full deal, like just
The worst.
peak anxiety right off the bat, right?
So you committed all this money.
Yeah.
Committed it like
Yeah.
all in.
Yeah, and
Broken
you're
wrist.
like, this
can't
is
go
the
wrong.
break. Yeah, this
Yeah.
cannot go wrong. And sure, right off the bat, broken wrist. But I legit did not eat for like a long time, like one meal a day, like one chicken breast and 3 broccoli florets. Like
Bro.
tight.
That's a lot.
Taking laxative, like on
No.
the daily. Yes, bro. Honestly. And got to like 163 or something, and he was like, "Yeah, that'll do." Like, yeah,
Like, thank
yeah.
God.
But like, I started weighing. They were like, "Why are you taking your clothes off?" And I'm like, "Cause I need everything." I'm in the bathroom, like pressing to pee, spitting in the toilet. Like, I need all I can get right now, And yeah, dude, that was the hardest part for me. Was just making weight. If I could have eaten what I wanted and done it, like it would have been no problem. Because
So
technically, I had been doing probably more work.
So was he right?
Yeah, I mean, I won, right?
I guess that's the metric.
Yeah, but in 2020, I was a little heavier. I was more like 168, 170, which I feel like is where I really thrived.
Fighting weight.
Yeah, but my bike in 17 and 18 was not the fastest. It was good, but it wasn't the fastest, and we needed kind of all we could get. So, rightfully so.
You could feel a difference?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Were you tired easier, or was it like physically? Because there's I'm going to talk about jiu-jitsu, everybody. Zach's kid does jiu-jitsu, so we're in a safe space here right now.
Yeah.
He gets it. But there's definitely a pit. There's a point where I'm too small.
Yeah.
And too skinny, and I feel like I got good cardio and good energy, but I'm not strong. And then there's a period where, like, probably now, like, I'm at my heaviest now. I'm like 183 or something, and I'm like strong and I'm heavy, but I'm a bit slower, and I'm just not as like snappy.
Yeah.
So people do have a sweet spot.
Yeah, like I said, I think for me that's like 170.
Yeah.
I got really sick in 17 right before St. Louis. Got something like some kind of norovirus or something. Was like puking, passed out on the floor on a Thursday afternoon. Have to go race. But after that weekend, I was like 158, and I was like, no, it's saying it. Like I'm not good. I'm not well. I need to eat some more. And even like outdoors, he kind of let me fluff up a little bit to like 165 or whatever, but it was still hard, still like kind of on a Thursday, you're like spitting out water, you're like holding in your mouth and not chugging,
Dude,
Yeah, it was hard for me.
that's wild. That's a wild commitment level. But on the flip side, like, I can definitely see, like, I was around in that period of time. I can't remember if I was ever at Alden's when you were there.
I don't know.
You would probably remember. Would we have ever filled it? I wasn't there through that time. I think maybe the last time I was at Alden's was War Machines.
Yeah.
Well, you would have been there then.
No, with AC?
Yep.
AC?
AC.
I wasn't there in AC
Right.
era.
Okay.
He was the
It was
year before me.
Ando was on Husky there. Kenny was there. AC was there. Marv was there. But I mean, I remember that era was you went there and you won.
Yeah.
And it was everyone. And it was whether or not it was the program or it was
Yeah.
the right riders and the right time.
We had incredible synergy all through my time there until sort of the end. But the first year, like we were all in, like all 4 of us. We didn't scamp. Nobody was playing games. Like we went out, we did the freaking work. They hated each other, probably realistically, but they all knew that they were getting better, and they all knew that depending on the start, one of them was gonna win or be on the podium every weekend, and it was true. And it was awesome, honestly.
It was a vibe back then.
Yeah, it was. It
You
really
could
was.
feel it when you went in there, like Alden didn't fuck around.
Yeah.
No one fucked around.
No,
like
there's
that.
no messing around
That
at
was
all.
all business in that place.
Yeah, and like I had great time there. Like great times with Marv and Coop and Jason, Dunge. I grew up racing Dunge, beating Dunge my sort of whole amateur career. And then obviously our careers were very different, but I enjoyed working with him. Like I enjoyed getting to see him in those spots and in those vulnerabilities. And it was very eye-opening for me.
It is remarkable.
Yeah.
And he's talked about it on here, like the struggles that he had.
Yeah.
But man, he was a head case.
Realistically, yeah.
Right until Saturday.
Yeah.
And then he
The main event on Saturday.
but
literally like off the podium
out.
and it was like straight back into, chaos.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I remember, you weren't at this. We did a shoot for Suzuki at Carmichael's. And this is, I think he was on KTM, but he was at Carmichael's. And Big Rick was his practice bike mechanic.
Yeah.
And he came in and asked for 1 mil of SAG.
Yeah, that was normal.
And Ricky,
Changing clickers for the starts.
bro,
Seen it happen.
for just start practice.
Yeah. Rebound for starts to see if it tracked better. Like just a lot, dude.
And that's probably too much at that
It's
point.
too far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But dude, Ricky lit him up.
Really?
For one, it was like just his
1 mil
warm-up.
sag. I'm not
It
gonna
does
say it's not
something.
realistic.
It does something.
Yeah,
but
100%.
I mean, for what you're doing,
Yeah.
like just go grind it out. You
Yeah.
know, there's so many people that just wouldn't even know what a millisag
Yeah.
did. Like Porcel or
Yeah.
there's probably some guys that just they were so natural and so
Yeah.
and they just
I
were
did
like,
that
whatever.
episode of Seat Time. It's another podcast like 3 years ago when I was doing off road, and I talked about torque specs, and people went mental. Like, you can't feel this. Like, these people are stupid. I'm like, every one of your heroes believes this stuff. Like,
Yeah.
it's not. They know these things.
Yeah, that you can feel.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I think what people were going crazy about was, like I said, when Dave would build a new bike, he would take everything back like 5 Newton meters
Yep.
until like 30 minutes or an hour had passed, and we had like a break-in period, and then he would kind of start to tighten them back up, and people were like, "What? This dude's an idiot."
I hate riding new bikes.
I like a new bike.
Really,
I like the stiff, tight, dead. Like, there's less variables. Again, like that's why I wore.
way more control.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's steady. Once they get older, they start to change a little bit, and that's
Yeah,
when
give me that
things.
slack.
No, I
soft,
don't. No.
give me that thing.
Race bike, A1 race bike. That's what I want.
All the
That's
time.
why I wore like. You probably don't know this, but because it wasn't very well documented, but I wore like the cheapest gear because it was the least stretchy, had the least like stretchy stuff in it.
Huh.
That's why I wore Rockstar gear a lot, because it was like the cheapest line that Fly had. And yeah, I like tight stuff, like just stuff that doesn't change. Like, I just want it to be the same every time I touch it.
Was your practice bikes pretty well the same? Like you could feel like they
Yeah.
did a good job of it being
Yeah,
very,
for
very
sure.
similar.
Like, frames were 20 hours, so towards the end you could feel it. Like it would get a little wonky,
Squishy.
wobbly, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you start changing stuff and is not realistic, so then it's like a little frustrating. But yeah, they were solid.
So you've got a practice bike that's got 19
Yeah.
hours on it, and it's
You're
your
like,
last
can
day.
you stiffen my shock up? And it's like, is that really realistic for what I'm going to do this weekend? How many hours does shock have on it? Like,
Yep.
all those things play.
Yep. That makes total sense.
Yeah.
So I just want something soft, very forgiving. Give me the squishy, wiggly.
Yeah.
Like, dude, new bike. I'll let other people ride my new bikes.
Yeah, the best way
I
I can
don't have to ride them.
explain it is like pro golfers using blades and stiff shafts. Like, they want the most feedback that they can get,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
It's the same thing.
Yeah. So let's. We got Wes in the studio. This will probably lead us into your amateur career.
Okay.
What's your top 5 Wes GK films / goat creation / Verb Moto videos? Top 5.
Number 1 is without question 5X Purple Power Band.
Can we watch that? Can we? I don't know that I've ever seen that.
It's great. It's at my parents' shop. One of the workers there, Ryan, was just a goofball. Like, we used to call him Spicoli because he was just a goofy dude.
Yeah.
And yeah, he I think he kind of came up with the skit, right? And yeah, he comes in like this alligator cowboy hat.
So that's not online? Wouldn't be able to find it. What's next?
Well, I have
YouTube.
We have it.
Hit it on YouTube and see. Next would be Moto Cribbage, where I did like a tour of my house, my childhood house.
Moto cribbage.
Yeah.
Dude.
We made that all up on our own. Not spun off of MTV Cribs at all.
That's funny.
Number 3 would be the Platinum we did at Club MX with Darren Durham. It was
Yep.
pretty cool. Pretty
Yep.
good day. Number 4 would be that. No, not that. There's a segment that we did that was just it was just a Platinum, wasn't it? Or was it even a Platinum? No, it wasn't a Platinum. It was just a segment of me and my teammate Mel riding my sand track at the time to the song called How You Like Me Now
Yeah.
by The Heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
That
Play
was sick.
that.
Or have music in here that you can't.
Nah, we'll just mute it later. We'll just mute it in the actual edit. So play it. Play it. It's fine. Club MX. Dude, the sand is wild there, eh? Oh, he was skinny. Look at him.
Yeah, that was in Europe actually.
Oh, this is your. So you had the Europe bike here.
Yeah, I have that bike. It's being redone right now.
Really?
Yeah.
It's 3-speed?
It's not a 3-speed in its current form, no, but it's
Okay.
that motorcycle.
That was the Cosworth engine?
Yep, it has all the Cosworth stuff except for that because I raced it at Supercross and it wasn't legal to have 3 gears.
Dude, UFO gear.
We had some sick kits though, to be fair.
Yeah, yeah. That's just the most Euro thing you could do is wear UFO.
Oh yeah,
100%.
all in.
If you're going to Europe,
I needed Pro Grip goggles and there would have been dial. Pro Grip roll
I
off.
was literally about to say
Yeah.
that, dude. Isn't it a shame that just these edits don't exist now the way that they used to?
Well-
Insta bangers, bro. Oh, what? So this is the club property.
Yeah, this is actually beside the club property.
So you've always been a woods guy.
Somewhat, yeah. I don't really know how that came about, to be honest. But yeah, I do love riding in the woods. This track was sick at this time.
So this is what the club sand track is, basically.
Yeah, that one section is now on the front track, but
This is iconic. Look at him go.
This was sick. This section.
Oh,
I think the GoPro fell off.
that's unreal. So that's number 3.
Yeah, number 4. What did I say so far? Oh, that was number 4.
Was that 4?
Yeah. 5 would
Oh,
be.
you said Verb Platinum before this.
Yeah.
Let's watch that. I don't remember that one.
I don't know that it's online.
Really? Oh, that's crazy. We might need to re-upload that bad boy, remastered. And then 5.
This like original shoot that we did for what was that? The Prospects. At my house in Virginia.
So when was the
Massive.
first time you guys met?
I met Wes at Etchicani in 2004
Damn, bro.
or 3.
We'd already shot at your house when you saw me.
Before that?
I met you at your house for Moto Cribbage.
Oh, okay. That was before that?
That was
For real? Okay.
Damn,
Yeah,
bro. That's
so about
23 years.
Yeah, shh. Don't tell anyone.
That's a quarter of a century, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, this.
This is it?
This is some of it.
Dude, I had that helmet because of you. I'm not joking.
My goggles are dirty.
I had those goggles too.
Want to do this corner?
Hey?
serious reason.
Yeah, seriously, I swear.
Oh, no. Were they Oakleys?
This track you could go back, forwards and backwards. But down that hill was this massive step down that.
Oh, that's what you were talking about
Yeah.
before. So you've got this place back up and running?
No, this is my dad's property.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, he still owns it though.
That's
It-
epic.
It will look like that again someday. He may not know it yet, but
Bro, you had the sickest style. As a kid, like how old are you here? 12? 13?
13 or 14, yeah.
Bro, this is just
Ty,
memories.
Ty
dude.
should be in this. Yeah, there he is.
No way.
Yeah.
Went a bit deep. Oh, that's before he started rolling his bars back. Dude.
This is bad, Wes.
This
Selling
is
me
going
out.
in the bin.
This is the bottom track. This is a different track.
So you had a sick childhood riding
Oh, yeah.
bikes.
Oh, yeah.
Like, this looks incredible, bro.
It is.
The dopest bikes. KTM before they were KTM.
Should we do a throwback and just film a new video there? Build this track? Actually?
Say less. Beta 125.
Can do it. Like,
I'll let you ride.
Dude.
Can you do that again?
that is actually a building now. There's a building there.
So you had like a little soupy track?
Actually, so Brownie is from my area, like 30 minutes from this place.
Yeah, right.
And he originally split a supercross track with my dad in like '02, maybe '01 or '02. And this is the pad. This isn't the track, but this is the pad.
And in one corner we have Zach Osborne.
But
See,
yeah.
it's just crazy to me that a kid could do that.
Do what?
Just hit that jump,
Yeah.
you know? Oh, dude. What? You had every bike. This is such a
that
sick
Minios?
video. Bro. Look how little you are compared to those guys.
Yeah. It's always like that. Still am.
No front brake ever. I haven't seen you with the finger on the front brake once this whole video.
It's a track, an old track in Virginia called Action Town. It's Muddy Creek. Me and Brownie had a sick battle that weekend.
You were riding with Brownie?
Yeah. This is '05. That's the year he almost won the outdoor title on the
And you were
Honda.
battling with him.
This is at a local race, but yeah, we had a good battle in one moto.
What time it is and what we're going to do, Zach?
It's like 7 o'clock and we're going to the gym.
What do we do at the gym?
Work out, yo. Little muscles.
Deep in the archives, this is the jump.
Dude.
It was big at the time.
That looks pretty big to me. That's wild. So yeah, you had just a pretty sick childhood.
Yeah, really did. But a lot of pressure, a lot of stress. Probably wasn't prepared for.
So is that, you're saying you had anxiety a lot
Yeah.
for your career? Is that something you had your whole life, you reckon?
I don't know. Definitely some portion of it, but before I sold Club MX in 2014 or 15, whatever it was, we went through a liability suit, and that was what really like dug the hole for me. Like, just started to see everything different, every one as a
Threat.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that just spiraled me. That's what led to me selling it. Like, I got to a point where it was like, I can't do. First of all, I can't like live a life like this. Second, there's no way I can race and do this. Like, I need to either quit racing, which at the time I was riding for Geico, and
Yeah, your career was like on the
kind
up.
of on the
Yeah.
kind of trending up.
Yeah.
And yeah, I had to make the choice basically.
That would have been a terrible time.
It was tough. It was tough. A lot of emotions. Just the whole thing just changed the way I saw everything, you know. And like, yeah, I don't even know.
So were you
was
there
tough.
through, so Brandon, he just did the pod recently.
Yep.
And so we got into it.
Yep.
And so there was two, right? So
The
the
first
first one
one.
was the kid passed away.
No.
Or he didn't. And
Didn't.
then there was a kid that
Yeah.
passed away.
But I was kind of out when the kid passed away.
Okay, yeah. I just didn't know which one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, just a tough deal. tough deal. But Brandon's built the dream that we kind of collectively had, when he showed up there, and it's cool to see what they've got going now because it's an incredible place, and just to have been some part of it is pretty cool.
He's a beast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just hearing his story.
Yeah,
He was a concreter
yeah,
that was just racing on the weekends.
yep. You'd have to ask him maybe, but he just randomly called me one day and was like, "Hey, I've got 2 kids, Jesse Wentland and Henry Miller,
Yep.
and we're in Myrtle Beach, and we want to come ride your track. We heard it's pretty sweet." So they came and rode, and then he was like, "Yeah, I build tracks." And I'm like, "Can you build a supercross track?" And he was like, "Yeah." And like
talked about
now
this.
I know like
He'd never build a
he'd
super.
no idea. And thinking back, like I remember one day I was in Europe, like I had already left for the year or something, or was going and coming back or something. But my dad called and he's like, "Hey, your guy trimmed the skid steer out of the track and he can't get it back on." And I'm like, as someone who's ran equipment my whole life, I'm like, that's a little weird. So my dad had to send some guys to kind of rescue him, dig him out of this hole, put the track back on or whatever. And like now I'm like, duh. So then, yeah, I mean, I had property and, a little bit of money. My dad supplied equipment and then it took off. It was so much bigger than what we thought it would be. Like day 2, day 1, it was like, oh crap, like we
It's
better
the
get
whole
our stuff
thing.
together. Yeah, it went from like we don't really have enough money to scrape together to open this to we need to scale this quickly or it's going to overcome us, And yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I had no idea. And I think I kind of get the feeling from talking to him that the industry doesn't even know how massive a deal that place is.
Yeah,
It's
I don't
almost
think
like
anybody
people
does.
are sleeping on that whole thing.
Absolutely. Now, when we went there, that's one of the few regrets I have from my whole life is that I don't have like a crap load of pictures of what it looked like early days, like when we showed up there when we were like, all right, we're going to make this place a training facility. Like my dad had brought down like an old mining building because that's what he did, my coal mine reclamation. And he brought down some building that he like basically got for free off of a reclamation job. And that was like my shop, sort of. For the most part, it was dirt floor for a while. And then whenever we decided to do the facility, we re-skinned it. So like put new tin and everything on it. So it looked pretty nice. And then, yeah, I mean, just what it is now. Have you been?
Never.
You need to go.
Yeah,
It's
I do.
pretty sick.
He was saying that there were times where all of you guys would be, there was like one camper there basically.
Yeah.
And there's like
My trailer house, yeah.
20 dudes in
Yeah.
a camper eating
Yeah.
after riding and
Yeah.
like just trying to get out of the weather.
Yeah, pretty regularly actually. And then like Phil was there, and
Yep.
there were some like key players in the early days. We played poker at night. It's like it was freaking fun. Or I'm like 23 years old, and it's any 23-year-old's dream to have a bunch of dudes riding dirt bikes at a freaking sick track. Like the tracks were bad to the bone right off the bat, so it was pretty cool.
How many of your New Year's resolutions have you been able to keep so far? I've been able to keep on track with my daily nutrition habits as I'm still starting off each and every morning with AG1 the same way I have for years. 1 scoop a day or one of the convenient travel packs when I'm away at the races make it really easy to stay on track with my health goals. For me, the benefits of taking AG1 every day are super clear. Firstly, it just sets the day off on the right foot. Secondly, after years of taking AG1, I know how good it is for my digestion and overall gut health. My skin is clearer and my hair and nails are healthier. I love that AG1 is NSF certified for sport, meaning it's been independently tested for quality. When it comes to my health, I want something I can trust, and that's why I've been partnering with AG1 for so long. And AG1 is offering new subscribers a free $76 gift when you sign up. You'll get a welcome kit, a bottle of D3K2, and 5 free travel packs in your first box. So make sure you check out drinkag1.com/gypsytales to start your new year on a healthier note. So all right, let's go back to, so a bit of an amateur phenom, KTM Junior.
Yep.
How do you miss the factory ride here to the point where you end up in Europe? Because there's a
didn't.
point where everyone was like, oh yeah, his career's done. Like
Yeah.
he's not the guy we thought he was.
No, so 06, 05 Loretta's, I blew both titles. I went like 3-1-2 in both of them, and I needed to go 3-1-1, and Dungey won one and Stroop won the other one. And sorry, got distracted. So after that, it was just a mammoth choke, is what it was, pretty much. Like
Really, on
yeah,
your end?
just choked. And after that, I went to A. So I went from schoolboy to A. Everybody else went schoolboy to B. And then I raced Daytona Supercross in 06. And then I was going to do outdoors in 06. Did outdoors. Got sixth in the first moto at Hangtown. Crashed in the second one. Broke my clutch off. So it was kind of a shot day. Went to the second round at High Point. Broke my thumb on amateur day riding. And that was kind of the tail of the tape for the whole season. Went into 07. Super just not ready.
And so what bikes were you on at this point?
KTM.
Still KTM?
Yeah, like I had a factory bike in 06, but at that time there was some Red Bull rule where you couldn't be certain age with the
Yes.
stuff. So
Yes,
I
yes,
basically
yes.
rode out of a box van beside the truck.
Yeah.
And 07 went in very underprepared, just not ready. I
Why
don't know.
was that?
I don't know. Like looking back, it was so stupid. Like it was not really me. I was just kind of being guided, and nobody took the reins. 07 was basically a waste. I was sick the whole season. Got better towards the end of the year, but still was like getting 15th at outdoors, and that was like when the crisis was starting with the financial stuff, and
Yes.
they were gonna farm it to MDK. I had another year on my contract. I had 08 on my contract as well.
Yep.
They were gonna farm it to MDK. They did. I got fired at the end of the season, and YOT had a spot, which they gave me. I rode for free. Actually, at one point, I think I was gonna pay the mechanic, but then they stepped up and were like, "No, we'll just no salary, bonuses only." A1 broken scapula, first heat race. Was riding really good, like in a good spot, you know. Broken scapula, first heat race. Supercross was a wash. Broken wrist, first moto outdoors, Glen Helen. And then the team was like super sketchy, like about to fold. And they took on some other guys, and then I couldn't get a bike. And that's when I went to Europe. It happened pretty quick.
That got away from you fast.
Yeah, dog. Yeah. So earlier that year, I had a apartment off of McKinley. This place called Marquesa. It's like the place where every rider before me had stayed. And there was a Mimi's Cafe down the street. Walked in there, sat down, and Doc Wobbs
Yep.
walks in. He had two buddies with him. I was sitting by myself. I went there kind of every morning while my scapula was healing. I was sitting by myself. Wobbs was like, "Hey, come sit with us." You know, I knew him. He was like my Smith guy in like 2002 or something when I was on 65s or something crazy like that. And so I go over there, sit down. He's like, "Hey, this is my buddy Ash." I don't even remember who the other guy was with him, but Ash does some stuff for Dixon Racing. It's a European Yamaha team. Obviously, I was pretty in tune with the whole scene there because I'd been there. I've spent most of 05 in Europe doing European championships and random races before Loretta's. And he was like, you know, "If you ever want to do a GP, let me know." And I'm like, "Yeah, for sure, dude." So like when this whole YOT thing starts to unfold, he's like, they had Martin Barr, who was hurt, and Kenneth Gunderson, who was also like blew his knee out the first GP. So they were like kind of struggling. And he called me. He was like, "Hey, do you want to come do some GPs? I see that there's some issues or whatever." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, dude. Like, been training, ready to rip." Sitting there with a cast on my wrist. Like, so I cut my cast off and went there. And yeah, the rest is history, really. Cut my cast off in the kitchen at my parents' house with some pliers and rode, I think, maybe once or twice before I went.
That is insane.
Rolled the dice. Yeah, I went there on a 2-race deal. So A 3-race deal. So there was one British Championship before Lommel and then Lockett. So those were my 3 races. Like this was my trial period.
Lommel.
Yeah, Fox Hill, Lommel, Lockett. That was my trial period.
Right.
Yeah.
That's great. I don't remember Lockett. Lockett is sand too, right?
No, it's like super gravelly.
Okay.
Like just not American at all.
yeah.
Really fast, like flowy kart circuit kind of thing.
What
hard
country is
Czech.
that in? That's the Czech Republic.
Yeah, it used to have the big step down over the road.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, got an 8th in the second moto at Lommel. The bike quit in the first moto, luckily.
Thank God,
Thank
dude.
God. Yeah. Qualified straight in from the thing on Saturday. Got an 8th. Lockett, I think I was like 2 times 15th or something because I fell in the first turn both motos. And then there was a British Championship, and it was like, oh yeah, it's going okay. Like we'll keep you for another week. I was not making any money for day to day. There was no prize money. I made like £1,000 at the first British Championship that I did. Went 3-3 behind Steven Sword and Sean Simpson. It was a great day, like massive. Like for where I had been for the last 24 months, it was like, oh, we're in the berries now. Like we're going racing.
Yeah, we are boys.
Yeah, and the bike was good, and the team was good, and like for the first time, I was really enjoying it, and for a first time in a long, long time.
Well, I was gonna say, ever since Loretta's dirt bikes,
yeah,
probably
even
sucked.
before that, it was pretty like stressful for me, like just hard.
Why is that?
I don't know.
Expectations,
It was hard.
pressure?
Expectations were high, and it was just hard for me. Like, I wasn't motivated. Was really probably not doing the things I needed to be doing, like, training and stuff. I was just like natural talent, and I was a better 2-stroke guy. I think that was a huge piece that I probably never thought about. Was like I just was better on a 2-stroke.
Well, you spent your whole life
Right.
doing it. Really, like schoolboy to A.
Yeah.
What did you race in the A class? 250.
Yeah, straight to 250F. Yeah.
And those bikes were very different
Very
back then.
different,
If
yeah.
you went from a SX 125
Yeah.
to like a Honda 250
Yeah.
back then, maybe it would have been an easier transition. No linkage, no
Right.
very, very, very different.
It was a strange beast. So it hadn't been fun in a long time, and then that felt like there was like you could do it and have fun, and life was pretty simple. Like I didn't really have any money. I had $1,000 when I went there that I had made driving a dump truck for my dad, like the weeks prior when I had my cast on.
So even though your dad was pretty well off, it wasn't like he was just giving
Well,
you a
I wouldn't
bunch of
say
cash.
well off, but like also we didn't always see eye to eye on things. I was a 17-year-old kid that knew it all and everything. So yeah, it wasn't like I was set by any means, but
So he was kind of like making you struggle in a sense.
yeah. Looking back, yeah, it was like
Which probably was good for you.
this is shit. Like this is how it's gonna be,
Yeah.
So I had $1,000. The exchange rate at that time was like 212, I think. So traded in my $1,000 that I had scraped together, and got like 400 and something pounds, and I was just like, here we go. So Dixon picks me up at the airport, and I never met him before. Just like, get in the car with him, but we're walking to the car, and I'm like, being a little bit judgmental, like, which car are we going to, And obviously it's right side of the road there, or left side of the road, right-hand drive. And we get to this Range Rover, and I'm like, we're doing all right. And only to realize that he's getting in the driver's side of this, like, piece of shit Citroen that we called the Citroen for the 5 years after that. And I'm like, we might have made a mistake. Like, got 450 quid and in this piece of crap car, but the bike was freaking good, and the boys were sick.
Yeah, I mean, and you look back now with
Yeah.
everything that happened in your career.
Yeah,
Best case scenario.
Yeah,
Probably
and-
the best thing that could have ever happened
absolutely wouldn't trade it for the world. Also, some of the best times of my life, like just simple, fun. We were just racing. We didn't really give a crap about much. Like, I was making a little bit of money. I think the first full season I did, I think I was like $60,000 salary, but I was spending pounds that were, effectively 30,000 pounds or whatever. So it was pretty tight, but we made it work.
So you didn't have any like agent guidance, anything in that kind of like transition period?
No, I've never had an agent. Well, I had an agent for like 3 months at one time, but just wasn't my thing.
Yeah.
I recently hired some help. an outside the industry guy, Jonathan Lee, for my cycling stuff mostly, and then just to kind of help me button things up and not
Yeah.
be so. It's one less thing I have to do.
Yeah.
I can put that focus on something else.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so you were kind of just pissing in the wind in a sense.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
Like you were a factory guy with KTM. But
Yep.
yeah, so that for people listening that don't know, Red Bull, would they still have the rule like 16
I don't think
years
it
old?
is.
Or
That's
has it
why they did
changed?
jams and stuff like that. I think but I think it's all different now.
Yeah, so you would not have been allowed to ride on the factory team.
Yeah, something like that. Because I was
because of the
16,
age.
but it was
Yeah.
18 or something. I don't remember
Yeah.
all those stipulations, but it was something weird like
That's
that.
kind of super unlucky.
Yeah, but I had this stuff, and it was actually like a little bit less pressure for me because I wasn't really on the team, but I had the bike, so it was like same,
Yeah, but you might have needed pressure.
100%.
Yeah, you might
Absolutely.
have needed.
But it also may have like really finished me. Like
Yeah.
those years where I was teetering on anything, like just
Like you could have quit at any
oh
time.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like if the Europe thing didn't happen,
Yeah.
maybe that's it.
Right. Yeah. Like likely that was it. Like I wasn't gonna get a ride here. I'd kind of fizzled out, and then I feel like Loretta's was a lot more
Yeah.
carried a lot more weight for your pro deal. Like most of those kids now have pro deals and they're set for
Well, plus you've
whatever.
got futures.
Yeah,
Or
it's a lot
SMX
more
next.
looks at people, And so the people that I had beat at Loretta's were well and, truly way ahead of me at that point. And yeah, it was the end. It was one of those moments like looking back where it was like, that's a pretty close call.
Yeah, glad you stuck it out.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Europe reinvented you as a rider in the public eye too.
Yeah.
I feel like, I don't know what it was like here. I wasn't here then. But I mean, even for me, as just a fan on the couch back in Australia watching GPs, I was like, oh, Zach Osborne's run GPs now. Like it kind of made you different. It made you stand out to the
Yeah.
American fan and industry,
Yeah, absolutely. And there hadn't been anybody there doing it very well in the 10 years since Brownie left to me going. So it was like, oh, well, like he can kind of hack it here. And like you said, I think it just kind of made me stand out a little bit. And then like once I started to get results, then it was like, oh, okay, like this, he can do something,
So what was the period like to get up to speed there?
Well, I think, like I said, I cut my cast off. I think I rode 3 times. I had a 450 that was left over from my Troy deal that I think I bought, like going in to do some money races in the off season before going Supercross racing. So I rode that a couple times, and then went there, rode maybe 5 times, and then like straight into 230s at Fox Hill, which is a gnarly track in its
Gnarly.
own right, like in a totally different way than Lommel, but the consequences are massive there.
It's just like kind of sketchy.
Oh, it's so sketchy. I had a big one.
Great
there. I had
track,
2 big ones
sketchy.
there, actually, like 2 massive ones. 2010 British Championship, leading the championship. Superman scrubbed, caught my leg. Superman broke my chin bar off my helmet, smacked my teeth together, knocked out, major concussion. And yeah, raced the rest of the day because I had no
Had to.
choice. Went out the first moto, didn't remember the track. Got I think I went 7.31 or 10.73 or something. Got on the podium, pulled a rabbit out of my butt, major league. And then the following year, battling my teammate Arno Tonas for championship, my hand came off, grabbed the front brake when I went to put it back on, and just freaking dead. That was a season ender.
So Europe really toughens a person up.
Oh yeah. But like I said, looking back, it's so good for me, and some of the most fun times I ever had. I wish I would have done a little bit more sightseeing, but I think you got to just be older to really appreciate that and really take all that in.
Yeah. No, I completely agree.
Yeah.
You really don't. Yeah, when you're young, you just don't
Yeah.
have
It's
that
a coming of age
perspective.
thing for sure.
Yeah. But that period of time, you can look back now and be like, that was one of the best times of my whole life.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was aging out of MX2 at 23. It was the first or second year that they had the rule. I was getting married. My wife was graduating nursing school.
So how did that relationship go while you were in Europe? You guys were together before you went to Europe.
So we met when we were 12 at Ponca City.
What?
Yeah, we were together for like 4 years. We were apart for like a little while. I don't even remember how long, maybe a year. And then we got back together, went to like a local job. So let me back up a little bit. We were together. My parents wanted to sell the shop because I was going pro and they didn't need the hassle anymore. So she lived in Nashville. Her dad was a tobacco farmer. He got bought out in the tobacco buyout. Her brother raced. So then they moved to our town, bought the shop, moved to our town. So then we didn't really talk for like a year. Then maybe it was set up, maybe not, we don't know. But we happened to be at the same drive-in movie theater, which is like this local spot in my town. It's like a historic spot called the Moonlight Theater.
Yeah.
We end up there sitting on my buddy's van, top of my buddy's van, and yeah, the rest is history. But she would come like spring break, summer break, and then I would be home sort of October to February because I did all my training here because Steve was cool with that.
Yep.
So we really like did a couple 2-3 month stints apart.
Okay, so it wasn't like you were just over there.
Yeah, it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
No, she came every chance, and I came home every chance, and made it work.
So that was the time when you started training at the club. What is club now?
So what is club now? I bought in 2006. We used to race at there used to be a local track like a mile down the street on the corner there's like a main road on the corner. There's a track called Sand Hills. That was like the place to race every weekend in South Carolina. It was 4 hours from my house. So we would do the local indoor series Friday night, Saturday night, drive overnight, Sunday race the Sand Hills place. Like everybody did it.
That's sick.
Yeah, it was awesome. And there were some mischievous kids in the group. And down this dirt road, which is now the club, the road that club's on, Croft Jones, it's now paved. But there was this sand pit. So we would ride Z50s down the street, then down the dirt road to the sand pit. And that was like an every weekend thing. And like, at some point I told my dad, like, someday I want to own the sand pit. So yeah, I bought the sand pit.
How did that even come up? Like, how do you even find out that it's for sale?
My dad figured it all out, and I think I paid like $42,000 for it or something like that.
No way.
Yeah.
How much land?
It was like, I don't remember, like 48 acres. Like it was less than $1,000 an acre.
That is insane, dude.
Yeah, so that was in 2006, I believe. And Lonnie Taylor, another kind of mutual friend in the industry, he built me a supercross track there. Solely for training for Daytona. And then I had like a little outdoor track where the front track is now, but it was nothing of that caliber. Then when I went to Europe, Ash Kane, who I talked about at the diner, he had a friend, Johnny Douglas Hamilton, who built like the Alawite GP, Matterley, OG Matterley.
Yep.
He's quite the dude. Like he's actually a lord in Scotland. He's Lord Johnny Douglas Hamilton. He's of royalty from the royal family and all that stuff. So, but he loves to run bulldozers and build dirt bike tracks. So Steve's like, hey, Johnny will come over, build you a track at your place. So that was the OG sand track. That was the end of 08. He built that. And then, club started in 10, I think.
So you said your second race was Lommel.
Yep.
What was that experience like?
Heavy. I had been there before.
Okay. When you were
in
testing.
my travels, yeah.
Yep.
And I knew what I was in for, sort of, and fancied myself a bit of a sand rider, to be fair.
Yeah.
And like I said, thank God the bike stopped in the first race because there's no way I could have made 2 motos at that place at that time. Like also, then there was 2 35-minute practices on Saturday, 20-minute qualifying race, which was split into groups. And then if you didn't make it from that, you had to go to another time practice for the LCQ to get the like last 2 spots or whatever. So I don't even remember what I got in the heat. I made it in the heat, made it from the heat, which was massive. And then, bike quit in the first race, ran 8th the whole second race, like super solid, but just destroyed. Like at the end, it was like
Your
like
soul was on the track still.
Yeah.
You
left
were
it
here,
all
but
out
the
there.
soul
Like,
was
yeah.
there.
And it was massive for me, for the team, for everybody. Like it was a big deal.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah.
Is it as gnarly as everyone says?
It was my best sand moto result until the last sand race I did in 2012, which was Lierop. And I think I went 5-6 that day. That was the day Jeffrey lapped everyone but Van Horbeek, I think.
That is wild.
Yeah. In the heat race on Saturday at Lierop, that 12 in 2012, he fell in the first turn. Glenn led the whole race. I was second the whole race, and he passed us with like 3 laps to go from down in the first turn in 20 minutes. And like that was the best sand riding I ever did in my life until like 2019.
And you said you fancied yourself a
I
sand rider.
I thought I was a sand rider.
So you got to race peak Jeffrey Hurling
Yeah.
250.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Beast?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I don't know if you saw the other day, but I know you're not a big social guy these days, but him and his first sort of trainer, John Vandenberg, they posted this thing where John presented Jeffrey with a certificate that he had completed 4,500 motos in his life. And I wrote, I shared it like this is the most impressive motocross stat that I've ever seen. And Jeffrey replied to it like, that's why I was kicking your ass back then, because I was doing so many motos. And I'm thinking like, yeah, probably because I was doing like 0 motos. But I said like, how did you tabulate this? Like, how did you keep track? And he was like, me and him have calculated this since 2008, which was my first pro year. I think he did Europeans in 2008 and then raced GPs in 2009 because he was just old enough. But they've kept track of it. And I said, so is this sprints? Is this like the equivalent of? He was like, no, this is 35-minute motos. That's it. That doesn't include sprints. That doesn't include
Warm-ups.
15s, 20s, warm-ups, nothing. Just 4,500 full distance, 35-minute motos. And I was like, what? And then Liam, he was at my house and he was like, how many do you think you've done? And I was like, genuinely, like not half of that, probably not even a third. And then we tried to like tabulate it, into days and like 5 a day on 52 weeks a year, but he's been hurt a lot. Like absolutely unthinkable.
That is insane.
Dude, it's mental.
Can you do the math on what 4,500 by 35 is? Like, and then let's figure out how many hours that is.
Oh, yeah.
That's insane.
4,500 times 35 divided by 60.
2,625 hours.
On a dirt bike.
2,600 hours,
Yeah.
bro. And like you said, that's not playwriting. That's not motos before
Testing.
he's pro. That's not testing. Straight 35.
Yeah.
109 days of his life.
Bro, that's crazy.
It's mental. It is the most insane stat I've ever seen in dirt bike racing. To me, it's sort of different, but it's more impressive than a perfect season. Like, just the sheer volume of that is crazy.
What does that do for your brain?
I think you just know the bike so well. Like, even I know you're not on social, but like all of December, he was riding motos on the KTM. Like, he rode all the way up till Christmas on the KTM.
Knowing he's about to change bikes was
Yeah.
just like, fuck it.
Gonna
Send it,
dig.
boys.
Yeah.
Well, when Caroli was in here, he was saying that he was just obsessed with like, he knew where everybody that he raced
Yeah.
rode. He knew how much everybody had ridden that week.
Tony
And he
was or
knew-
Jeffrey did?
Jeffrey.
Yeah.
And he knew that he rode more than everybody
Yeah.
else. So that was obviously like a thing
Yeah.
for him, like that control almost. Like that was something he could control.
Yeah.
And Tony said that the years that they were battling for the 450 championships, he's like, I would just lie. I would tell my team, like, because there was his team at
Yeah.
KTM and then Jeffrey's.
Belgium and
Yeah, he was just
Italy.
like, we would lie and say I rode here, here, and here, and I did this many motos because Jeffrey would top whatever I said.
yeah.
So he's like, I rode once, but told him I rode 4 days.
Yeah.
So Jeffrey, 4 days, bang,
Hammering.
pounding.
Yeah.
He's like, the guy's a psycho.
Yeah.
Just an absolute psycho
It's
for
the
it.
craziest stat. And like, since he posted that, I've thought about it so much. Like, how fit you are. yeah, it's incredible.
I just think so. In August, I went home and we do this ride. It's like, dude, you should do it with us one day. But we go from Cairns to the tip of Australia, and it's like remote.
Dual sport.
Dual sport. I was on a WR450.
Okay.
So you leave from your house in Cairns, and then it's 2,000 kilometers to the tip.
Yep.
And it's all either like wide open dirt roads, like full outback, red dirt, just like as outback as it gets.
Yeah.
And there's like a mix between these dirt roads and then single trail, right? And like I ride that, and you're on it for like 10 days. Dude, by the end, the last day, so I went with Regan Duffy. Do you remember?
Yeah.
You know Regan?
Mm-hmm.
So we rode, he was on the trip, and the last like single track fire road section, he's like, bro, I can't believe how much you've improved in a week.
Yeah.
But it's because I don't really get to ride.
Yeah.
You know, I might ride like twice a month maybe. And so I think about that all the time. They're like, today we rode Parla, and I was just fucking awful because since that I've ridden 3 times,
Yeah.
and that was in August, you know. And you think about how much better you can get because you're doing it every day.
Yeah.
So you wake up, you ride, then you stop, you eat, you sleep in the dirt, you get back up,
Yeah.
and you ride. And you just do it for 10 days, and your brain changes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I can feel that my brain is different in terms of processing speed,
Yeah.
the way that I feel on the bike, like just the relationship you have with traction, with lean angle. 4,500, 35-minute. What does that do to your brain?
Yeah. I mean, I think the skill must be so fine, like so perfect. I mean,
Unreal.
no, like for me at Alden's, we rode Monday, Tuesday, Thursday race, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday race. And if for whatever reason we missed Monday because of rain and we had like a 2-day off, like, because if you do it that way, Saturday race, Sunday off, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off, Thursday, Fly Friday race. You're only having 1 day off periods.
Yep.
And if I missed Monday, Tuesday was hard work.
Yeah.
You know, and people are like, oh, why don't these guys stop practicing, you know, during the week? Like they've been riding enough. They should have their settings. I'm like, yeah, that ain't it. Like you got to be so on point. And sure, there's some guys that can do it and not ride Monday and, you know, don't need that, but I needed it.
But I wonder though, I mean, maybe it's just that everyone's different, right? But you go to World Supercross, none of them get to ride.
Yeah. But
And they all
but
just-
nobody's riding. That's the thing.
But that's kind
And
of
I've pitched that whole thing a couple times just on other shows and whatnot. And people just lose their minds because they're like, oh, like you can't do that. Like that's not how this was founded. But like to me, the thing we need to do most in our sport is protect our talent, protect the guys who are the show. And the best way to do that is riding less. The level inadvertently goes down a little bit because they're
But
not
not
on that
by
knife,
much,
knife
though.
edge. Right. Not by much. And yeah, it protects the guys.
yeah, because it's just risk. Like you
Yeah.
just look at Jet.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't doing anything crazy.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
We just lost the best rider in the sport, you know.
Yeah.
And
You just lost probably $5 million.
yeah, the problem is Justin Cooper was the only rider that finished every race.
Yeah.
And I said
There's
it on
something
the
in that
show.
now.
Yeah, I said it on the show, and everyone's like, "What about NFL? What about?" It's
Yeah.
like, okay, you can get a strain, you can get this, you can get that,
Yeah.
you can miss some games. Like we're talking, like look at Ron today, broken humerus,
Yeah.
surgery, the whole like life altering
Yeah.
injuries, and it's based on riding time.
Yeah.
And-
I talked to some high level cycling guys just on Instagram and stuff. And one of them, Tobin, I had really good legs a couple weeks ago, and I posted about it. Like, if only all my hards felt this easy, you know? And he was like, oh, the old tailwind legs. That happens about twice a year, never in a race. And I was like, okay, well, that leads me to a question, right? I come from a world where there is no taper, there is no build up to a certain race. You're on for 30 weeks a year. And 1% you might cover for, 2% you're suddenly an 8th place guy. You can't really make that up on talent. Like, so for me, being like an average level cyclist, not pro, not even like local cat, well, you know, cat 5, like just a local dude. I come to race weekend on my bicycle, and how do I predict how do I predict my legs, right?
Yeah,
Like I can,
which version of you is showing up?
Yeah, how do I get good legs? Like how do I know I can get my heart rate to 180 with the legs I have on that day, you know? And I've had some good races over the last couple of months where, like in cyclocross, where I was like really good performances where I'm like, all right, like I'm actually decent at this, right? And he was like, yeah, I have no idea how you guys do that. Like, you know,
To maintain the
yeah,
level.
maintain the level and just, yeah, be on all the time, like all year round, basically. Like at this point, there's 3 weeks left. If you don't do any off-season stuff, you can take three hard weeks off, you know? And he was like, yeah, I can't help you with that. Basically, he was like,
"Yeah, I don't have the
you got to
answer."
trust the taper. And I'm like, nah, dog. Like the more stem, the better. Like as long as I don't crush myself the day before, that's the best I can feel. And he was like, yeah, sometimes that works. I'm just like, yeah. And also, you know, the risk, like, let's say you have a bad bike race, like I'm just gonna get dropped and ride back to the truck, right?
Yep.
Like the consequence of a bad day in dirt bike racing can be really bad.
The consequence of one bad decision, and you know, do you think so? Rones today, right? Is a good rider.
Yeah.
Never really takes risks. He doesn't hang it out. He rides he's like me in that when I ride, I want to ride good.
Yeah.
I want to ride good technique. I want to do, and
Proper.
I get enjoyment from that.
Yeah.
I'm not a fast rider,
Right.
so I don't get enjoyment out of hanging it out.
Yeah.
I try and keep it in a box. I try and keep it tight, and I try and get better. And he's very much like that, right? One thing,
Yeah.
done.
Done.
And even, you know, I'm like, take my 250. He's like, no, I'll ride the 450.
Yeah.
You do one thing.
Dude.
You take that 250, you don't break your arm.
It's such a fine line. And that's like one day at Paula, pretty basic, like not a big deal, right? These guys are on a supercross track, on a factory bike, on the freaking edge of it every single day, 3 days a week, 4 days a week, all year round. Like
Yeah.
it's so freaking gnarly.
It's just I just don't know how you'd mandate it. You know?
I don't either.
And that's the perfect thing about the World Supercross thing is that everyone's in the same boat.
Yeah.
You know, like Ricky created a race to the bottom.
Yeah.
It was how much can you suffer?
Yeah.
How much can you dig? How long can you sustain that dig? You're going to be the guy that wins.
Yeah,
the
and it's
35-minute
produced some champions in its own right. Like I was never the most talented guy, you know. I was not shouldn't have beat some of the people that I beat, but I worked hard. Like I went hard as I could go, and that's what made me good, you know. Otherwise, I would probably on a model like that, I'm probably not that great.
So we'll go back to that Europe period then.
Yep.
So you start doing well. And when does the phone, or like, what's the best Europe year? Like, when did you really feel like, okay, because to preface that, you're going through these mental struggles
Yep.
of, I was that close to quitting.
Yeah.
So when does it switch? You start having fun, you start enjoying it, the results start coming. Why not stay in Europe? You
Yeah.
wanted to come home. Like, what's that period look like?
Yeah. So in 08, as soon as I got there, I stayed with Steve for like maybe 2 weeks, and then buddied up with Mel, and then his family allowed me to come live there, and it was like really a good soft landing spot. Like great family, 4 boys, all rode dirt bikes, mini bikes everywhere, pit bike track in the backyard, like all the things that you would kind of want to
Made it
land
feel
in.
like home.
Oh yeah, like it was just like the perfect spot. Had my own room. Like they were treated me like their own. They called me the fifth son for a long, long time. Still do, but that coupled with going racing with guys that were like just freaking loved it. Like they lived in the truck. We went riding go-karts. Like we did it all together, you know? So it was like, wow, like this can be fun. Like even if I have to stay here for the rest of my life and have to somehow convince Brittany to move here, like it'll be fun. Like it'll be good, you know? We can do this. So going into that 08 off season into 09, Mel came back with me. Johnny built me that track. We absolutely dug all winter. Like dug way too hard. Lots of three times 40 days and just giving it the berries. Cause like now I'm like, all right, if I just go all in, it'll get better, right? And so did that off season. Start of 09, I won the GP in Turkey. So then it was like, yeah, like we are cooking with peanut oil now.
We're on, boys.
Yeah, we're on. And then the very next weekend, bike blew up, crashed, broke my wrist, kind of wrecked the rest of the season. I don't think I had anything that was even respectable the rest of the year. Took me a long time to get better, and just wasn't in a good spot. 10, same thing. Had a really good off season. That was the off season that Club MX started, I believe. And won the British Championship, 4th in the world. That was probably my most successful season there. 11 was nothing to write home about. Had some decent races, but really just crashed. That Fox Hills crash, I think, had maybe 2 or 3 podiums before that. I broke my wrist somewhere. Where did I break my wrist at? Glen Helen? The Saturday at Glen Helen.
Yep.
Crashed and broke like just a little radial styloid thing, but then had to go race in Brazil with that. So I got on the podium at Glen Helen, actually. Brazil was super tough because it was like in that sore, not healed phase, and I just had to run it. I think I went 5.5. Got back to Europe, mixed results, crashed into the season. And I had an option with Rockstar Suzuki to come home at the end of 11. And I kind of like, I probably should have taken it. Like, for sure, at the time that it was offered to me, I should have taken it, because it just was not going to, I wasn't sure that I was going to get home at that point, you know? And I presented it to Steve, and I was like, hey, like, I think I'm going to do this. Like, it's really good money. I think it was like $150,000, and it's a good team. Bikes are good enough. Good people, right? And that was kind of my biggest concern coming back, was like, this is what I know. This is the group that has kind of made me successful. We're having a good time. We're racing. We're doing this as a group, and we're killing it. Like, we were beating factory teams. We weren't a factory team, but we had good stuff. And Steve was fully committed. Like, dude never sleeps. Still to this day. Like, it's not having the success that we had then, but still fully committed, right? So I took him the offer, and he was like, just don't do it. And I'm like, I can't just not do it, right? Like, this is a major opportunity for me to go back. Like, I appreciate everything. And he was like, if you don't do it, I'll take you to the first 4 Supercrosses. We can take our bike, and I'll pay for everything. And I was like, okay, like, that's fine. So
That's pretty cool that you did that.
Yeah,
that would have been very hard to say no to.
Oh yeah, I had an offer at the end of 10 going into 11 from KTM and CLS, which was the Cowie team, that were both better than Steve's offer. And we were in Latvia, and Stefan was the manager at the time, at KTM, and then the CLS guy was French. I don't remember his name. But Stefan was like, I need you to make a decision before the end of the weekend, because if not, we're going to move on with somebody else. And I was like, okay. I turned it down. And he was like, what do you where are you going? And I'm like, I'm just going to stay here. And he was like, he like literally like kind of chuckled when he hung up, you know?
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's the one spot in my career, no other spot where I'm like, what would have happened? You know, like, I don't want the butterfly effect, because I love where I'm at in life, and like, I've had an amazing life. Yeah. But I would just love to see that picture. Like, let me go down this path.
Just let me watch that.
Would I have been world champion? Would I have been not successful at all? Like, I just want to know what that one looks like, you know? That's the only spot. But Steve wrote me a contract on a napkin on the way to the airport.
So he knew that this was going
No,
on?
he knew. Yeah, he knew. CLS had made me an offer, and KTM had made me an offer. And I think they were both 100,000 euros, and he was paying me $100,000. But at the time, that was a pretty big gap. That was like 50 grand.
Yeah.
So yeah, he wrote me a contract on the way to the airport on a napkin from the restaurant. And Big Mel was like, do not put your name on that. Do not. Like, whatever you do, get out of this car, take that with you, whatever. Don't put your name on the napkin. We'll figure it out, you know? And yeah, in the end, I turned down both KTM and CLS, stay with Steve in 10, and then for 11. And then, yeah, he brought me for Supercross in 12.
And how did those Supercross races go?
Yeah, that was the springboard, really. Like, that was when it all kind of came together with Geico, and they So we came, and I knew the bike was really good. Like, I knew that our engine package was awesome. We were on Olin suspension, so it was like a big question mark for me. Like, can
For
we?
Supercross.
Yeah, like not only for Supercross, but like, where are we going to test that? What are we going to do? And they actually just sent me one dude and Marty, and we did work all winter. Showed up at A1. I was in the B practice, qualified second or third overall, and then got 9th at the first race.
What year was that?
12.
Dude, I would have been there. Can you find a picture of Zach at that race? I would have been there, I reckon.
Then second race, Phoenix got 6th. Third race, LA was shortened program because it rained and they had the tarps on.
What race was that?
LA.
LA, yeah. Yeah.
When
yeah,
JB,
yeah.
When Trey and Mo
Yep,
crashed.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, that's it.
Dude, this is just coming back to me.
Yeah, so that was the Euro rig, full rig. Raced kind of out of my van, kind of out of the Rock River semi.
What a sick setup, dude.
It was good. Who's that?
Oh, Jads.
Jads.
Do you remember Jackson Richardson?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, okay. He got fifth. I was going to say he got fifth. He got 6th in the heat race that weekend.
Marty.
Dude, the heat race king. Yeah, with the heat race win. Wild, bro.
So yeah, I got 3rd at LA, and then I got 3rd again in Oakland, and I was only like, I don't know, like 8 points out of the lead or something like that, because there had been some carnage. Like Dean had a huge one at Oakland, Eli had messed up somewhere, and I was like, no, like they wanted us to stay. Like Yamaha was like, please, just keep doing what you're doing. Like people are noticing, whatever. We'll kind of chip in, and I was like, that's not what I said I'd do, you know, like I want to be world champion. And so we left, and then the next weekend or the next weekend, whatever, San Diego, Eli crashed, broke his elbow. So then I'm like,
Should have stayed.
well, it's one of those things, right?
Yeah,
Could have gone either
yeah,
way. Could have
yeah.
stayed and
But
been
you
bad.
also left on a high note.
Yeah,
And you left people
yeah.
with no
So
doubt.
before I left, I rode the TLD bike. He's one of my good friends now, but he was keen. He was like all in. Showed up, gear was done, helmet, boots, bike had my number on it. I was like, this is pretty cool, right? Rode the bike. It was terrible, like so slow, and I was like, dang it, like this really would have been a good fit for me, you know? It's more of a low key deal, but the bike just wasn't fast. Like especially compared, it may have been fast for America, but what I was riding was really freaking fast at that time. Like it was awesome. And so then I went and rode the Suzuki, and they made me a sweet offer. It was like $75,000 more than Geico, I think. And it was good, but it was Geico Honda, dude. Like that's the team, right? Like
Plus, you'd done some suspension stuff with Factory
yeah,
Connection
it all
back in
made
the day.
sense. Like it was just seemed like a fit, and yeah, so I took the deal. TK always says I chose the Barbie over like the nice looking girl,
Yeah.
but yeah.
I could see why you would do that.
I mean, they were
Geico,
winning
bro,
everything.
like-
It was like Barsha,
Yeah, it was in his
Tomac,
prime.
Will Hahn. Like
Yeah.
it was sick, right? They had this Alias stuff, and it all looked so good. And yeah, took it right there.
How did Steve feel about that?
He was fine with it. Like
had
I
to
was
know at some point
No,
you
I
were
was
gonna
aging
go.
out, so
Yeah.
he did me a huge favor by bringing me. If I would do him a favor by staying
Sticking
for that
around.
year, because he had Tonus, I think, but that was it. Like it was just me and Arno, and then the 450 he had Simpson, I believe. So he was like, "You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours." So it was fine. Like he did it more or less just for me to have a showcase. If I felt, if I did got the results.
That's awesome.
So yeah, he was fine with it.
That's such a cool story in
Yeah.
itself. I mean, our industry, you don't hear that shit that often.
Yeah, no, we literally flew 2 bikes over.
That had to be expensive for him, bro.
It probably was. Yeah, we had this insane gas that Josh Pitts made. We used
We're here
like
at the Monster Energy Supercross
Dude,
in
look.
Phoenix. Zach been an American racer, racing the GPs for quite some time. What made you come over here and decide to race Supercross?
Yeah, this year will be my 4th full season in GP, so it's my last year also in the MX2, so it's a good opportunity for me to show myself to the American teams to come home next year, and also for my team, Monster Energy Bike at Yamaha, to get some good press and also a great warm-up for the Grand Prix.
Tell us a little bit about your pit area.
This year, for the first 4 races, we're set up with Rock River Yamaha. It's just a relationship that we developed doing the USGP at Glen Helen for the last 2 years, and they've been really supportive of us, and it's also good for them to have someone in their pit with factory support, so it's really good for both of us.
Now, April 9th is coming up pretty quick. When do you head home to get ready for that first GP?
After Oakland's my last Supercross, so I'm going to go back to Club MX training facility in South Carolina and start my preparations around March the 5th, or around February the 5th, excuse me, and then go to Europe around March the 5th and race a few warm-up races before the first Grand Prix in Valkenswaard in Holland on, like you said, April 9th.
Well, we are in Phoenix.
Dude, you and them eyebrows. They might have rivaled JB at that point.
They were big there.
I love that.
Didn't trim them at all then.
Did she get in there and trim them off for you now?
No, I just run the trimmers.
That's wild.
Don't really care.
You might have had JB covered. Because,
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I feel like he probably, like,
He gets
unequivocally
them-
has the best eyebrows.
Oh
in the
yeah, he
sport
gets
at the
them
moment.
tuned a lot, I think. Though.
Does he?
Yeah. I
Gets
think.
like the...
Maybe not.
But they were ripping there.
Yeah, they were big.
It's so cool that the way that it worked
Yeah.
out with you aging out and you stuck around with the team
Yeah.
the whole time. Like, that's a very cool story.
Yeah.
You must be at least proud of that part
Oh yeah,
of the story.
it's
you know?
sick. And like I said, I still have the bike. I'm getting it redone right now, and it's cool. It's a cool piece. Full Olins,
Yeah.
all the stuff. The exact frame that I raced with. Steve owed me like $4,000 at the end of the deal, and I was like, hey, like this bike's sitting here. It's in a box, but you've never paid for the shipping to get it back. So can I just keep that and we'll call it square? And he said, yeah. So still got it.
That's unreal.
Yeah, sick.
And so you do the Geico deal.
Yep.
And you said you do all these deals by yourself.
Yeah. Yep.
How was that experience?
I don't know. I never thought of it any other way. Like, you know, my philosophy, even when it was like $1 million 450 deals, is like, if they want to screw me or if they want to get out of this, they can.
Yeah.
And it is what it is. Like, you're fighting a corporation at that point, and
Yeah.
I'm going to do my job. It doesn't matter. Like, as long as the money's in the bank account, the contract doesn't matter to me.
Yeah. And you save yourself $200,000.
Yeah. I just never thought that, like, for a guy like me who was at the level that I was at in my career, sort of overall, I didn't feel like that I was leaving 10% on the table. But even if it was only 10%, I really needed to get 20% to have any sort of bump, you know? Like, I didn't think that I was leaving 20% on the table. Like, you know, if it's $1 million, you need to make 1.2 to pay the agent and have $100,000 more than what you would have. And
Yeah.
I just never saw that as what I should do.
Did you see other people go through tough periods with agents that like kind
Not
of
really.
turned you off it or anything?
No,
or?
not really. I mean, like I said, I had Beaker for like a couple months
Yeah.
at Wasserman in my first year of Geico, but I'd already done all my deals.
How'd you get out of that deal?
It was pretty easy. Like, they hadn't done anything. I went from Bob Moore to Beaker, and it was like just nothing was happening. And I'm like, that's not, no, I'm good. Like,
Yeah.
so it was over.
Huh. Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah,
I feel like it's very hard to get out of those things these days,
probably. Yeah, a lot of messes out there.
especially at the moment.
Yeah,
It's a void. There was a void
Yeah.
that caused a lot of issues.
So 12, I was in a really good spot when I went back to Europe.
Yeah.
And we went just for a day of riding. My bike blew up on a huge tabletop at Fat Cat, endoed into the next tabletop, like sparkoed for I don't even know how long, destroyed my shoulder. My collarbone pulled off like a tendon that goes to your bicep tendon or to your pec, just like a big deal. The guy that did the surgery actually was like an experimental surgery at the time. They hadn't really done it very many times to put this tendon back on your collarbone. So that took like 12 weeks, and Steve was super cool about it. Came back, got like 3 or 4 podiums. So it was kind of like the season that could have been like really. I don't think I would have beat Jeffrey consistently, but I feel like I could have been better than 4th in the world. That was my other best result. Because when I came back, I was instantly like 5th place guy on the podium.
After a huge injury.
Yeah, after missing the first 8 GPs, 9 GPs, because it took like 12 weeks to get back to riding. So yeah, could have been good.
And then you commit to the Geico deal.
Yep.
What were those? So that's when I met you. So we met doing, was it 12 or 13, you reckon? It would have been.
It was 14.
14.
Yeah.
So 13 was your first year
Yep.
on Geico, 338.
Yep.
And then you went to 16 for the next year?
Yeah, 16.
Yeah.
I got a career number the first year I was back because I had a pretty good outdoor season. Supercross was pretty mid. Like, I got on the podium one time, I think, Seattle, which was a mud race, but otherwise, yeah, very mediocre. Not what I expected. I came from this bike that we literally just like put together in my garage and went to the best team in the business and was definitely not better. Like, maybe not much worse, but definitely not better,
That's wild.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah. And it was a lot like probably mostly that like atmosphere stuff. Like, just wasn't comfortable in my surroundings, never quite felt like I was doing enough. Like, just
Kind of got back to the anxiety.
exactly straight back into it. Like, yeah, went from
Comfort zone.
Yeah, like people that knew I was doing what I needed to do, people that I knew were doing what they needed to do, no questions, to like everything being questioned, and just tough situation.
So it's almost like that's kind of more a part of the cultural racing scene in the US.
Yeah, like, do you mean the corporate thing?
Well, just the fact that, like, what are you doing through the week? Are you doing that? Are you doing that? Have you been training?
Yeah.
We got to put you with this trainer so we know what you're doing.
No, in Europe, like, there was loads of times where we were all like just sitting at the same campsite looking at each other like, nobody's riding this week. It's no big deal. We're on our 3rd GP on the track. Had a British Championship before that. Got a British Championship next weekend. It's all good. Just hang out.
To the Geico pits of just straight stress.
We're doing scrimmages on Tuesdays and Thursdays with all the guys doing starts, and it just full on,
Yeah. It just turned into, I guess it's the real job at that point.
Yeah, definitely felt that way.
Well, I mean, I went to Star last year, and it was the week before Colorado. It's when I did the thing with Cole.
Yeah.
And, right, what time are you going to be at the track? Oh, 8 o'clock. Okay, next day. What time are you going to be at the track? 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Next day. 8 o'clock? 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Just every day.
Yeah.
You're there at 8 o'clock. You do your cycle before you go there, and you get there at 8 o'clock, and you leave when you're done.
Yeah.
And it's literally a job.
Yeah. And, in the end, that's what, like I said, made me who I was, like, doing it like that. But I was just definitely not ready for that level of input or whatever. I don't know how you want to say it, but it just didn't fit where I was at,
So how did you get through that?
Just poorly. Like,
just struggled.
Yeah.
Just struggled.
Yeah. Like I said, 13 wasn't great. It was okay. I got on the podium a couple times outdoors, maybe 3 or 4 times, and they were pretty happy with that. I had really bad arm pump that year in the first moto. So I think at the end of the season, my first moto average was like 11th or something, and my second moto average was 3rd. So I had really good second motos, but my first motos weren't great. And then
Why do you think that was?
I just struggled really bad with arm pump. I should have gotten arm pump surgery 10 years before I did.
Oh, so you did get it?
Yeah. But I only have the small scars, so
Yeah.
this is a different scar, but this is the arm pump scar.
Yeah, right. And it helped?
Oh, yeah. Changed my life. Got that in 16, middle of 16, during Supercross. Won an outdoor race and more races after that.
Crazy, eh?
Yeah.
So, yeah, you just naturally struggled. Did you struggle in Europe?
A little bit. Not quite as bad, but I don't know.
The bike was more comfortable.
Yeah, everything was more comfortable. And then it was like a thing, like just getting arm pump. Like,
And then you
getting
knew
arm
you were
pump.
going to get an
Yeah.
arm pump, which
Yeah, we
probably
were
made you
thinking
get
about-
an even worse arm pump.
Yeah. So then 14, Supercross was not good. Got on the podium at A1. And then I fell at A2 in practice and like bent the plate on my collarbone. and that took a couple weeks to heal. And then first outdoor, A-Rod crashed going in the first turn at Glen Helen, wide open. Crashed. My hand was still on the bar, and it like pulled my thumb back to my arm, and that was the whole season written off. Like it was a 12-week deal.
Bro, you've had some crazy bad injuries.
Not really.
I think we're up to like 6 broken wrists, broken collarbone.
Yeah, but not like my elbow that I did during my enduro year is probably my worst injury.
Really?
Yeah.
Just in terms of to heal.
Just pain in the neck, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like,
But you
know,
just missed a lot of racing.
yeah, I missed a lot of racing. Yeah, but I didn't have any of those like knee things, like that. I've super funky knees, so I've been able to avoid those. And yeah, for the most part, I'm intact. Have one plate in my collarbone. I like to get that out eventually.
Akrapovic, I will say this: best built muffler for the money,
I've never owned one in my life. They f those things.
dude. $1,600, dude.
Yeah, I ain't doing that.
Yeah, you will. You'll do it.
Damn you, Chris Kiefer. They've got one. This part fits your ride. 1,300 with shipping. All right, let's go. So now we hurry up and wait. Oh, that was quick.
Yeah, already.
That's unbelievable. That happened so fast. Because this order was over $79, it qualified for free shipping. And Kiefer was right. This might be the most well-built exhaust I've ever seen. And we wasted no time fitting it to my YZ450. The way the exhaust mounts on Yamahas is unique, but really simple. And in about 20 minutes, we have transformed the look, the sound, and the engine characteristics of this 450. All that's left to do is hit the track. As usual, Kiefer was right. The Acro took the power of the Yami and put it in all the right places. It was smooth off the bottom, but still meaty, and I loved the new exhaust note. To transform your next ride, hit the link in the description and head to motorsport.com. And right now, if you head to motorsport.com/win, you can enter their ultimate ride sweepstakes and win a YZ450F of your own. So when did the Geico thing sort of come to an end?
So in 2013, in 2012, randomly after I went home from the Supercrosses, like back to South Carolina, I went and did some enduro riding with Stu Baylor. And
legend.
You got to have him on.
Bro,
Eventually,
anytime.
you gotta have him
Anytime
on.
he wants.
So I went and did some riding with Stu Baylor. Caleb, Charlie, some other guys were there.
Yeah.
Did a couple of like random hair scrambles, like just like trying to get long fitness. I'd been riding Supercross for like 3 or 4 months and needed some longer stuff. So I was doing like some 2-hour stuff. And they're like, dude, you should do 6 days. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? What's 6 days? And they're like, 6 days of enduro. Like you go in, it's a sprint enduro. Like you'd be good at it. And I'm like, I doubt it. Like I don't think so. But anyways, I couldn't do it I could have been on the junior team in 2012, but then the Geico thing was going to overlap. Like it was in November or something. So there was no shot that I could do it. So then in 13, they asked me again and I was like, maybe. I did the Florida GNCC in 13 in the beginning of the year, and I got on the podium. And then I went the next weekend, got on the podium again, and they're like, "Oh, like we need you for 6 days." And I'm like, "Okay, but like I don't think so. Like I don't think I'm the guy you think I am or whatever."
Yeah.
And they're like, "No, we'll teach you how to change tires. Like you can do it. It'll be good." So ended up going to Sardinia on the trophy team. We got second place, which was a huge deal at that time. They had never won before. They'd only been second one time, and that was in like 1986. This is 2013. So we had a massive success. It was me, Kurt Caselli, Brownie, Charlie Mullins, Caleb Russell, and Thad Duvall.
So that's a team.
Yeah, like star-studded team, right? Like we killed it. And that was like kind of a springboard to the Husky deal because after 13 and 14, I was like, probably not going to be like a Supercross star. Like, I'll take this Husky deal and do 2 years of Supercross, get what I can get, because it was almost double the money from Geico. And actually, like when I took the Husky deal, Jeff Myshak called me and he was like, "You really think you're gonna do better on that bike?" And I was like, "I don't know. Like, I'm willing to give it a try. Like, they have an enduro program when I'm done with these 2 years. Like, I can go race enduro." And that was kind of my plan. Like, that was sort of where I felt like I was headed, right? And yeah, went to Husky and accidentally found a group like I had in Europe. Like, Bobby did things differently. We had such a cool crew. We did things that nobody else did, like in terms of dynamics and team stuff. Like, it was freaking awesome.
In what way?
First of all, he allowed us to be who we wanted to be, do what we wanted to do. You know, just we were like, we referred to ourselves. It kind of became a thing in the end that we were the merry band of idiots. Like, that's how corporate felt about us, and that's kind of like why it all got disbanded in the end. Like, didn't really fit the mold well enough.
Because they were trying to be like the premium.
Well, not only that, but like we beat those other guys a lot, and they didn't like that, I don't think. And it was all one team until it wasn't, you know, sort of thing. But yeah, like, so took the deal. 15 was good. Got on the podium A1, but Bowers cleaned me out in the heat race, broke my thumb, won the LCQ, and got second in the main. And then the rest of Supercross until later in the year was pretty rough because my thumb was smashed. Like, it broke. I crashed, and when he hit me and I went off the berm, and I still had my hand on the bar, same sort of thing as the other one, and it like crushed this bit. Like, you can still see that little knot. Like, it just smushed that down. So it was super tough to ride. Manned it out that night, but it was tough after that. Then outdoors was good. That was the year I went to Eli's in 15. Stayed the summer with him.
How was that?
Incredible.
Pause.
Yeah.
Let's break that down.
It was good. It was definitely like Johnny T was probably taught me more than anyone else about actual riding the motorcycle, understanding the motorcycle. Like, he was awesome. Eli got hurt right off the bat, so like I had a lot of time with just John. Yeah, that was the Colorado year. Yeah.
Bro, so I'm guessing you saw him as a freak of nature in 2015.
Oh yeah, like that was the Hangtown year.
Yep.
And
the Glen Helen year.
Yeah, both.
Unbelievable.
So like his track, it's at altitude. It's at like 5,500 feet or whatever. And like, obviously I'm on a 250. They had sent me a 350 there to ride because the 250 was just like slow and it would melt them pretty quick. And yeah, I mean, there were a couple days where he would ride the 252 stroke, like this POS 252 stroke that he had in his garage. It was like an 07 Honda 252 stroke.
Why?
For fun. Like, that was what he'd just do a day of motos on that. Yeah. And he would be like 7 seconds a lap faster than me on that. And it's literally like this stock 07 Honda 252 stroke. And I'm just like digging. And I'm like, when I won, I'm pretty sure I won a moto that year at High Point, or maybe that was the following year. But like getting on the podium on the weekends, had a good season. But before he got hurt, it was just like ridiculous. Like, and if he rode the 450 in a 30, he would lap me in like 18 minutes, 20 minutes, something like that. And like I said, I was doing well. It wasn't like I was getting 20th place on the weekend. It was mental.
That's psycho.
Yeah.
7 seconds a lap.
Yeah.
On a beat.
Yeah.
252 stroke.
At altitude, which is like, you know, carburetor,
so 2
stroke, blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah. Mental, dude.
What did he have then?
I don't know. Like, they built all these dozer berms. Like, so everything that, you know, like Paolo was today when we showed up.
Yeah.
Like, that's how the track was. And I think he just learned that speed of like how to push through and how, you know, track was pretty rough, but not like super rough, but he would go so freaking fast. Like, just jump in there and just dig. And dude, yeah, I mean, just gnarly. But that's where I kind of learned about leveraging the rear of the bike and, you know, hips out, good feet. Like John really taught me a lot, and he's literally one of the best dudes on earth. Like,
So you never really had much coaching or anything?
no, I guess not. Like, not really. Like my mechanic when I was a kid, he kind of did it all.
Yeah.
Coach, mechanic, everything. But other than that, might have been to 2 riding schools in my life, I guess.
Yeah, so you were literally just winging it, bro.
Yeah,
Forever.
for a long freaking time, right?
That's wild.
Yeah, yeah. But that summer at Eli's was pretty special. Even for my family, like we had a really good time, and they were awesome to us.
So Brittany was there, like
Yeah.
everyone was there. Did you have
Yeah.
kids at this point?
We had Emery, and she was 2, about to be 2, and Kathy, treated her like she was her own.
Dude, they're so cool.
Yeah,
They're so cool.
Yeah.
That whole family.
awesome.
Man, that is special.
Yeah.
Bro, to be there that year.
Yeah.
It's such a shame he got hurt. Like,
Oh, it was
that's-
gonna be a massacre, honestly.
that's maybe some of the best I think a human's ever rode a dirt bike.
Yeah, absolutely.
Glen Helen, Hangtown, those
Yeah.
are just some of
The jump up the hill at Glen Helen,
Yeah,
like just mental, dude.
come on.
Yeah.
Come on. And that, I mean, I don't think that was the best bike.
He thought it was like
Okay.
he liked it a lot.
Yeah.
But
I don't think it's like traditionally a
no, it
loved
wasn't.
Honda though.
It wasn't the Honda. Like
Yeah.
we had the 250, and it was the same model the year before, and it was pretty tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just like for him to be that good on that bike.
Yeah.
But there is something when you say like the pushed up dozer berms and just getting used to going fast.
Yeah.
James was like that.
Yeah.
His place was never rough.
No.
His place was they always had it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, rough, but not like national
Yeah.
rough. But just the speed, dude. Some of the days that he would ride and you'd be at the Stewart compound
Yeah.
and you would just see the shit he did. It was like fast. Everything
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah. Same there. Eli.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a really cool property, a really special place, but man, he was just ridiculous.
And so John really taught you a lot because
Yeah.
so when you say leveraging
Yeah.
the bike,
Yeah.
so this to me I think is the most underrated topic
It is.
in motocross.
Yeah.
And so again, jiu-jitsu, like you learn so much about leverage in jiu-jitsu and now like seeing that and then translating it to riding, I'm just like, oh, dude. Yeah. And when you're playing when you're on top in jiu-jitsu,
Yeah.
it's literally the same position.
Yeah.
So when you get and you like kind of get into someone's guard,
Yeah.
it's like all the pressure through the feet,
Yeah.
hips back, like flattened
I understand.
out. It's all the same thing because you have so much more leverage and so much more force
Yeah.
that's going through your feet.
Right.
And when you start riding like that, someone is literally today, someone was talking about, Brian. I was talking to Brian about Jet and Hunter.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, whatever, if it's an inch that Jet's leg is longer than Hunter's and his arms, that's the difference.
Yeah.
That's the difference that you're seeing. Jet can put more leverage
Eli-
on the rear of his motorcycle.
Eli and Jeffrey are the absolute 2 best at it in the world.
You reckon?
I would put money on that. Jet's incredible, like so good at so many other things, but like sheer leverage of the swing arm and making that thing dig, they're the 2 best.
Because that's what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
So you've got 2 feet, balls of your feet, and you're pushing your ass out as far as you can.
Yeah.
You're tightening up your glutes and your hamstrings,
Yeah.
and then you're levering it at the hip, and that is forcing the rear
Yeah,
of the
it's
motorcycle down.
Doing basically this with the top of the bike.
Yeah.
So then you're digging, right? Yeah.
So you didn't know about that.
You
were probably doing a little bit of it.
No,
in
I definitely didn't know about it because when we started, he was like, "Do you not get it?" And I'm like, "No, like no idea what you're talking about." And he was like, "Yeah," just kind of bumfuzzled by the fact that I didn't know how to do it. You know?
So how did he explain it to you?
Well, I watched a little bit, and then like I wouldn't even say that obviously I'm short, so it's not ideal for this concept, but I wouldn't even say that I mastered it until like the end of 16, like where I was like, okay, like I feel that, like I can dig my heels in, weight on my toes, drop my heels, and like it leverages the bike. And, that was when the scoop tire was kind of getting started. and
How dare you?
I could get it stood up straight and just let it dig, and it made a huge difference for me.
And you just never knew.
Yeah,
How long did it take you to feel the feelings?
a long time. Like to what I feel now when I ride and when I feel like I'm leveraging, like a year. But like I go to bed every night, like, how do I make this work? How do I do this? How do I fix it? Like,
That's cool.
yeah,
Yeah, I had the exact same thing in 2019. I went and I rode with Townley,
yeah,
and he basically just like fully changed my whole. He's like, yeah, this ain't gonna work, bro. Like, you literally suck.
Yeah.
And then he was like, you gotta do this. I didn't use the rear brake for like 2 years.
yeah. I mean, we did a lot of that kind of stuff, like no rear brake, no clutch.
I didn't do it by
Only
choice.
standing.
I couldn't use the rear brake
Why?
because I was so locked in on like keeping my feet. I just couldn't.
Yeah.
I couldn't mess with it.
Yeah.
450.
But you don't need it as much when you have the right position, I don't feel like.
How do you mean?
Brakes in general. Like,
Yeah.
you can control it more with your feet, and it just doesn't take as much sheer brake.
That's crazy that it,
Yeah.
like a guy like Johnny T,
Johnny T is
underrated.
like next level underrated. Like, he's so smart when it comes to geometry and watching and seeing. Like, he helped me a ton in that area.
Yeah, I mean, I think when Eli's still in his career,
Yeah.
right? So we're all still in it.
Yeah.
But when Eli does decide to retire, we're gonna look at him as one of the best ever, bro. He might beat McGrath's record.
You think?
Like, it's not crazy. All right, let's say he wins.
What is it now?
He's 16 off.
16 off, so 56.
55. So he's 17,
17 off. So a
17
whole year.
off.
So he's got to win half this season, half next season.
Or go 3 seasons, win 4 that. Like, but so even the fact that we're doing the math is crazy.
Yeah, I would agree.
Like, he is, and okay, so you've got Supercross, and then you've got motocross.
Yeah.
Like, he's one of the best ever.
Yeah.
Like, it's maybe.
Oh, no doubt. That's like, not to skip subject, but that's one thing that really bums me out about the tweet thing, where he replied to
tweet?
my tweet
Who,
a couple
Eli?
years. Yeah, it was like 3 years ago.
Oh, what happened?
AC shared an experience, and I shared an experience on top of that was opposite of AC's, and Eli kind of chimed back, and like I got a lot of hate about it. Like,
What did you say?
AC was like something like, Eli can take roost better than anyone I've ever seen. Like, it's one of his best skills. And I was like, actually, like, I've raced him kind of the opposite. Like, if I could roost him or if I could attack him right back, that was my best defense. And I think it was the only thing that stopped him from passing me at WW in 2020. And then he replied, like, this is the fakest news I've ever seen, or something like that. And like, the thing that bums me out about it is it was like so many people were in my DMs and in the replies, like, this is so disrespectful. They did so much for you. And like, they did a lot for us. And like, no, by no means did I mean it in disrespect. I was simply sharing like my experience. Like, I'm not by any means naive enough to think that we're all experiencing the same thing here. Right.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, it bummed me out. Like, that was the reason it bummed me out. And yeah, I mean, I can't take it back, but I said what I said.
Yeah. Are you guys cool now? You spoke to
I think so.
Yeah.
Like,
I think time heals stuff like that.
yeah, and like age, and this was only like 3 years ago or something. But either way, like, the only part that bums me out is that people thought I was just being disrespectful, which I'm not.
Yeah. And I can see how, I mean, intentions just, it's so easy to misconstrue somebody's intentions when you don't know their intentions, especially on a tweet.
Yeah.
Well, I've never had to.
By no means do I think I'm better than Eli Tomac. Like, I beat him a couple times, circumstantially won a title in 2020 that he was in, but like, he's always been better than me. You know what I mean? Like, he, in my opinion, he won't have a perfect season, I don't think, which is probably the only thing that keeps him out of the GOAT conversation. But in terms of career span, done it against people that are pretty badass, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like he's pretty much the top for me.
The thing about Eli is when it's all said and done, you have to look at who he's raced
Yeah.
and who he's beat for championships
Yeah.
and in the different times that he did it.
Yeah, it's evolved a ton since 2015, like an insane amount.
Yep. Yeah, and I think that if you look at over the span of his career, what year did he go pro? Was it
12.
12? Eli? Oh, 09. Yeah, true.
No, it wasn't 09.
Was
There's
it?
no way.
10.
10 Hangtown or 11 Hangtown?
No, 10 sounds about right.
Okay,
But-
so it's 16 years in.
Okay. And you think about who he has raced
Yeah,
in that period of time. It's just so many different.
all the greats except RC, pretty much.
Lit-
I
yeah.
mean, not greats, but like all of this era's greats.
Yeah.
You know,
All of last era's greats. All
Yeah.
of this era's greats. You got Marvin in there.
Yeah.
You've got Dunge in there. You've dude, Stu,
Stu,
Eh,
Chad.
Chad.
Yeah.
Roxon.
Yeah,
Bro, peak Roxon
yeah,
is one of the best ever, you know? So I think that the changes of motorcycles, that, you know, the way that motorcycles evolve. Then
Yeah.
you got Jet, who's probably the best rider ever.
yeah,
At least for me, when I watch him ride, that's the best riding on a motorcycle
yeah.
that anyone's
No doubt.
ever done, you know?
I agree with that.
And it's like, and he's beat that guy.
Yep.
Straight up beat him in San Diego last year.
Yep.
You know, 2 in a row on a brand new motorcycle.
Mhm.
It's one on multiple manufacturers.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, he has had a crazy career. Just him and his dad at a ranch 6,000 feet above sea level in Colorado.
Yeah, I think that, you know, John's kind of in the early days. Now I don't think it needs to be, but like he shielded him from a lot of those pitfalls, you know, and that's
Big time.
and a lot of injuries. Like he's really just not been hurt, you know, like he's been healthy other than the shoulder thing and then the Achilles. Like, what else?
And the Achilles is just
Pretty fluky.
wear and tear on a body
Yeah.
that, like, you could do it running.
Yeah.
You could do it.
Walking up the steps.
That's
like, it
just a
doesn't matter.
thing that
Yeah.
can go, you know?
Yeah.
So that's really not even an injury.
Right. So like the big one was the shoulder thing in 2015.
And that, I mean, obviously it was only a few rounds, but like, dude, you got to talk perfect season at that point.
Oh yeah.
Like, almost give it to him, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. It was mental. Like
When
it
you're
was
beating
so much better.
Ryan Dungey by a minute and a half.
Yeah. Straight up. I watched that moto with John and I was like, we were both just like, wow. Like, this is special.
Yeah. Yeah. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, yeah, you do that season in 15
Yep.
there.
Yep.
And then where do you go from there?
So then the next season I stayed in California.
Yeah.
With Ryan Rao as my trainer. Yeah, just living in, I had a house in Elsinore. When I came back from Europe in 2012, I bought a house in Elsinore. And
Beautiful spot.
yeah, well, it was Canyon Hills, so it's technically not proper Elsinore.
You're on the other side,
Yeah.
by the way.
But stayed in California basically the whole year until like the last 3 races of outdoors. Had a good season. 16 was a tough one because it was a contract year. I was really close to winning, like closer than I had ever been for sure by a long shot. And
Was that Supercross you're talking about?
Yeah.
Or motocross?
it was Supercross.
Yeah.
Coop was good that year.
He was a dog then, bro.
Yeah. And I had been on the podium like 3 or 4 times already. I think it was San Diego too. I led for like 10 laps. He passed me, passed me back. And I was in like a spot where I felt like I was good enough to beat him like down the last 3 laps. You know, it was still lap main. So it was like 3 laps away from what I felt like was either a win or the very closest I had ever been. Like, would have been a big accomplishment. Push the front, going over an on-off, like take off, just the bike cartwheels. I was fine. Bike wouldn't start, got like 8th. And I like went back to the truck and sat for like an hour behind the truck on the sidewalk, on the curb. And just like, you know, I was pretty sure at that point, like, it's never going to happen. Like, it's not going to happen. Like, I'm just not going to win anymore. You know?
So it sounds like you just never really had confidence in your
No,
career.
definitely not. Definitely not. So we get in the truck and we're going down the road, like going home. And it's pretty quiet. And Brittany's like, I just don't think you hate him enough. And I'm like, what? And she's like, you just don't hate him enough. You just don't hate him enough that nothing else matters but beating them. And I was like, damn. Okay.
Facts.
Yeah, she's not one to mince words. Like,
Yeah.
she's going to tell it like it is or how she feels about it. And so went to a couple more races, podiums, whatever. Led the Santa Clara main, which was a super short main. The lap times were like 44 seconds. Whole main, 15 laps was like 11 and a half minutes or something like that. Pumped up, didn't win, but led like 12 laps of 15 or something silly. And still felt like it just wasn't going to happen, you know? So went to the Glen Helen 2-stroke race and just got arm pumped so bad that it like really hurt. Like, it physically was hurting me. And
So you get arm pump in Supercross too?
yeah. And then that Monday went and got surgery, went to outdoors, or almost won Vegas, went down in the first turn. It was the epic mud race in Vegas. Went down in the first turn, got back to Joey, like 3 seconds behind Joey at the finish line. So like really badass ride. Like felt like I had won, but still hadn't won, you know?
And you were like, I'll get you next year, bro.
Yeah.
I knew then that I was going to kill this man.
Went outdoors, won a moto at High Point. I think I went 1-4. Joey went 4-1 for the overall. So won, but didn't win, you know? And then went to Budds Creek, the 2 rounds to go. Budds Creek Ironman. Budds Creek went 4-1 for the overall. And like finally won a race. Like that was the first win of magnitude since Turkey in 2009, you know?
Damn, dude. 7 years.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a hot minute. And then, yeah, that's where the rest of the story starts. Like,
What changed after winning one race?
it just felt like the world had been lifted off of me, you know? And I was in a good spot that whole season, like that whole outdoor season. I got a couple podiums, but we had like 7 DNFs that were like fluke deals that no one could fix, that no one could figure out. We just had this one bike. In the end, we thought it maybe got struck by lightning in the truck. Like something happened to it, and it would just had these gremlins, like just wouldn't run, and like everything was brand new. Like we still never figured it out, but it had issues.
That's
Yeah.
bizarre.
So we had like 6 or 7 DNFs. Oops.
6, 7? 6, 7 DNFs?
Yeah, 6 or 7 DNFs, and finally at Budds Creek, you know, which was quite ironic. That's where all of my issues started in 2006. That's where I led like 20 minutes of the moto and then didn't score points because I faded that bad. That was like where my health issues started that led into 07, then getting fired in 08, and yeah. So 8 years later, some gratification or 10 years later, some gratification for the failure.
All the pain that caused you. So then we go into 2017.
Yeah. 16, I was in a great spot. Ryan and I were working together. We had a really good little program going. Everything felt right. Like I was in shape. Nobody was really questioning that. But then KTM presented me with this option to go there. And I'm like, yeah, well, I can't afford that. And they were like, well, we'll subsidize half. And then you got to find a mechanic and get there. And I'm like, well, can't really afford that either, but give it a shot, you know?
So what was your salary then, you reckon?
I think I was on 175.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which isn't crazy money
I was,
for a top 250 guy then.
I wasn't a top 250 guy.
Okay.
I hadn't even won a race when I signed that deal.
Mm.
Like in 15, like going into 15, I was just like podiums every now and then kind of thing. So it was the Geico, I was at 100,000, and then it was 175 at Husky for the first 2 years. But with good bonuses, my bonuses were like 60, 30, 15 or something like that. So it was pretty good. You know, it was better than any other lights team at that time. And so bit the bullet. Like we had some money saved up, like, you know, maybe a couple $100,000, but not like.
But
not
you
like if this,
you didn't own a house at this point or anything.
We owned a house in California, but we bought a house in Florida.
You bought the lake
Yeah.
house and all. Yep.
Yeah. So it was like 2 mortgages, but it was the only way to kind of do it right, you know? And we just kind of took a leap of faith and made it happen.
That's where having a cool wife comes in handy.
Yeah. Yeah.
To make those big calls.
Well, yeah, but she's never wavered. Like she never wavers ever. It's quite crazy, really. Like there's some times where she should have been like, "Hey, let's pump the brakes here," but she's just like, foot to the floor. Like, if we're gonna do it, let's go all in, you know.
And so, what did it do mentally for you to be on that program at Albans?
Yeah, like I said, the biggest thing for me was just watching Dunge like melt down every day, and I'm like, this is the baddest dude on earth. Like, this is the guy right now, and he's feeling the same. He's actually feeling worse than I am right now. He's making way more money than I am, but he's not feeling great, you know.
He is a hot mess.
Yeah, and it was hard to watch. At times, I would just be like, dude, just chill out. Like, we're just riding dirt bikes, you know? And I think that's kind of one thing that Europe did for me, was just give me some perspective on all of
What
that
it
stuff.
was.
Yeah, like.
Did you ever talk to him about it?
Not really, no. Not in depth. I should.
You should talk to him now about it.
Yeah.
I wonder, like, he listens to these every now and
Yeah.
again. I wonder how he'd feel. He's probably kind of stoked that it helped you the way that it did.
Yeah.
Just to be able to be like, it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah, it's okay to stress about this stuff because other people do. You know, like, I would watch races and I'm like, man, that triple's risky. How are they doing that at the end of the race? Like, this, they're about to win. They've got a gap and they just triple, you know? And how do they do that? Like, I don't think I'll ever have the confidence to be in the lead, going away, and be on the last lap and just seat bounce a 3 in. That's tough. And yeah, going there, like, then I did so many motos and so much like quality time on the bike with them in that off season that, like, never even a blip of my imagination that I was going to get tired. Never even thought about, like, what if somebody's faster than me? Because those guys were the fastest guys in the world. And, like, I was riding with them, not far off of them on my 250. So should be all right when we go racing.
So you're basically buying mental security.
Yeah. And, you know, still had never won a Supercross. Go to Minneapolis, the first race of the year. I think I was leading, hit neutral, fell, got third. And it's still like, frick. Like,
just give me one.
Is this ever going to happen, you know? And then the next weekend in Atlanta, I finally won. And it was just like the biggest weight. Like,
can you remember it?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It was so... I didn't get the whole shot. I think it came from a little bit back and just kind of won. Like, legit won the race. Like, not got a good start and everybody fell down, but, like, just won, you know? And it was such a huge step. Like, it was basically on from there.
And it just changed.
Yeah.
So,
completely.
Like, that win changed you as a person.
Oh, absolutely. As a racer, yeah. As a racer, for sure.
Just takes one.
It does. But, like, there, you know, in between that, there's so many times where it was just like a splinter away from not happening, you know? Like, you look back and there's so many times where it was like 1 degree of separation from just obliterating. But that made it all kind of feel worth it. But then, you know, you go from never winning to winning to red plate to now you're a championship guy, and that's a whole other thing, you know?
Yeah, so how does that... So you go from never really being in the hunt for a championship
Yeah.
to then being like
Yeah, the
almost
guy.
having it to lose.
Yeah. It's a big step in a night.
In a short...
In like a
big step in
24-hour
small
period.
window,
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty gnarly. You know, it's very cliche to say that it only lasts until you go off the podium, but it's so freaking true. Like, you go back, I would always go back to the room and watch the race, or go to the motorhome and watch the race, like rewatch everything, you know, like what can I learn while it's fresh in my mind, and what about my bike, what, you know, if they're showing me, if they're showing somebody else, maybe their stuff's better, like, you know, how can I be better? Like, it's an endless pursuit. When you're in it, you're freaking in it.
Man. To just go to... I mean, I always just pictured you winning.
I think a lot of people do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think the same thing?
I'm from the amateur days, so
Yeah, where he just won
He saw me
everything.
prime
it's a
time.
10-year gap that somehow you just
Sucked.
Forget. Yeah. It was tough.
Well, but the arm pump surgery as well, like
Yeah.
that's got to be massive. And then
It
the
was
John
big.
Tomac thing,
Yeah.
like that. There's a lot of compounding.
My mom, like, she always refers to my life as Forrest Gump, like the life of Forrest Gump. Like, it's always just these little bits and pieces where it's like, holy crap. Like, you know, my mom didn't buy me any fruit company stocks, but that would have been sweet.
Bought me stocks in some fruit company.
Yeah.
I think it's called Apple.
Apple.
So
But,
good.
yeah, like,
I made like a $1 gajillion.
it's kind of been that. Like, it's been like these little puzzle pieces. Like,
Yeah.
it's been like a treasure hunt my whole life. And, like, to find those spots, and yeah.
And I think that's a very real thing. I mean, like we were talking about on the way home. Like, I mean, I look back at my life and it was just a shit show for so long.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like kind of I feel like you're always having a bit of a shit show, but
Yeah.
it's like I feel like I'm getting to the point where I've done so much work
Yeah.
over so long that the curve starts to go up. And that happened in 2017 for you. It's like
Yeah.
the curve, like it was just going and going. You can see every graph about compound interest.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's just flat for the longest time. And
Yeah.
then
Mine was negative for quite some time.
maybe you started way down, but it's what happens.
Yeah, it is.
And so many people
Yeah.
in everything, they just don't stick it out long enough to see the results of compounding.
Yeah, you see that meme all the time. The dude that's like digging
Yep.
gold, and he's like this, you know, this he's come this far and there's a sliver left and he just leaves it. And yeah, I mean, there's so many cases of that, I think.
And you were almost one of them.
Yeah, quite a few times. Not even like a couple of times, not even purposely on my, you know, own choice, but like just because it was
There was nothing.
it was ending, you know, like it was over. But yeah, the gamble paid big, you know, like 17 was incredible. It was, yeah, it was probably the coolest year of them all. Like I just learned so much, and it was it came so naturally to me and so easy. And then I won 4 Supercrosses, and then obviously like that championship deal just it tops them all, really. Like the next year in 18 I got 7th in 17 and won the championship. In 18 I got 7th and won the championship, and I was like, not to sound like an idiot, but like I was like bummed because like I didn't win the race. I got 7th. I basically rode around, scared Joey was going to clean me out and right some wrongs and fix my championship, you know?
Yeah.
So like, yeah, it was like that 17 deal was just insane.
And I'm sure that, so 17 is the first time, and it's first time you won, then you're in the championship, then you win the championship. The expectation for 18, like it would feel different.
Yeah,
And
18 off season was really hard. I had some really hard days where, like Alden was like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Dude, I don't know. Like, I have no idea. it's just hard. It's really hard for me right now. Like, I know that I'm going fast, but like, just I don't know if I can do it again. You know, like, how do you repeat that?
So again, doubt.
Yeah.
So you just lived with doubt your entire career.
Yeah, worked to spite the doubt, I guess.
Yeah, no, that is, it's impressive to work through that.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm sure a lot of guys are dealing with it.
Oh, absolutely. It's,
You know?
yeah, it's rampant.
So let's talk about the Vegas night. Let's bring up the clip. How many times have you watched this?
I've watched the full race probably like 100 times.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a lot. What do you get from it each time?
Like, I just don't know how I got there. I don't know how I got to him. Genuinely don't know.
So you said at the start of this that was like a flow state experience.
Oh, absolutely.
So you need to almost watch it to see what happened.
Yeah. There's two things I really, really, truly remember about the race. With like 4 laps to go, I almost endoed in this section going out of the stadium. Like, I nose picked that 3 right there.
Oh,
And
I remember
was
that.
really
3.
close to finishing me off. And then this deal with Mitchell Harrison, where he passed me back out there. Like, see how far I am ahead of him? And then he passes me back. And I thought that was it. When we have to roll that double, when we come back in the stadium, I was like, oh, it's over. Like, I was going to be close, but now I'm not going to be close.
Dude. Mitchell Harrison on a Geico bike. That's a time warp.
No, that's Jimmy Dakota. Mitchell
sorry.
was on a star bike.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, like, we're battling now. And then he block passes me in this corner. And I knew that, like, I couldn't afford even one turn more behind him. So almost fell there. And that was like, man, that was one time that I really, truly remember being like, yep, not happening.
Yeah, so that's right. Joey got a bad start as well.
No, Joey was in second behind AC and fell.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you just weren't even jumping that thing all the way, eh?
I was.
You were?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. There, yeah. And so you're 9th. He's 7th now?
He's 8th, I think. I think
8th.
Mel Ross is 7th.
And so basically this is just winner take all.
Yeah, and AC was at plate too because he needed to be like 9th to beat both of us or something, or 11th. We needed to be 11th for him to win.
Yeah, okay.
But like, look, that's so far.
Yeah, dude. 2 to go. And that's a straightaway.
Yeah.
Dude, you are moving though.
But like, this hard pack's not my thing. It's not my thing at all.
Yeah, you still really can't even see him.
No.
here.
I mean, I knew where he was on the track from the moment we came back in the stadium on the first lap. I was like, that's your target, you know?
Damn, so if he didn't fall, this is just a completely different story. Man, have you ever spoken to him about this?
Joey?
Yeah.
We had one like long form conversation about it. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. It was pretty tense.
Really? Where was it?
We were on a bike ride, I think, and I just asked him, like, what happened? And he kind of went through it all.
Last lap, dude, and you still can't even see him. Really?
Well, it's not only that, but like, we're getting close. Like, I'm getting close, but like, there's still Melross. There's still like a 2-second gap, and we have 4 corners left. And he has no, Jimmy's not close enough to matter.
Yeah.
Gave
Yeah,
Melross the business right there.
Yeah, he needed to move.
No, he actually rode really good.
Yeah, he's a great dude. He had a really good Supercross season
But like
in
this
Australia this year.
this right here, like I don't even know how I did that. Like,
No, dude. Unbelievable, bro. Bro. Yeah, that's insane. Go back. So what's going through your mind this whoop section? Like, what parts of this do you remember?
There's not much in my mind, dude. Like, I genuinely don't even know how to say it. Yeah.
Like, you're still a long way back.
Yeah, but that one whoop section is just. Like, I could have turned low, but then I was afraid he was going to do me in the last corner, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Dude, the wildest thing is, like, you don't even lose a tenth from just cleaning his shit.
I felt him go across my back. I will say that. Like, I felt
That's what I mean. Like,
I
you
was
were
positive
connected.
I thought he was going to drag me down, but then when he didn't, I knew he was down, you know?
Yeah. But yeah, like, you guys are really tangled here.
Yeah.
And you were just, like, you were out of there.
It was the most insane experience of my life, for sure.
So when do you come to in all of
Right
this?
here. Like,
So
it was
there.
just like, yeah, like, I don't even know. It sounds retarded, right? It sounds stupid, but it's real.
I know, I believe it. Yeah. Unbelievable. I mean, that's one of the craziest title
Yeah.
in the sport. Like, hands down. Look at ya. That is, I'm getting goosebumps from that. Moody.
Jenny, let's hear from our champ.
Zach, I know that you have fought so hard to be in this place.
Dude.
The way the race started for you to get to this point and win your championship. What is going through your mind right now?
I don't know. I just have to say thank you to the Lord for this opportunity. I can't believe that I made that pass from, I could see him, but he was so far away in my mind, and to come back and pass him with 1 corner to go, it's unreal.
Before this season, you had 0 wins. You're now a champion. This is a moment you've been dreaming of. How does it feel?
I've worked my whole life to be here, and a lot of people around me have as well. My wife, my parents, just so many people that have shaped and molded my career into what it is today, and I can't thank them all enough. And I have to say thank you to this Rockstar and G Husqvarna Factory Racing team for believing in me, and it's just unreal.
Congratulations. We'll let you enjoy this.
Yeah, dude, that's crazy, bro.
Sorry, I've only watched that part once.
Really? You've never watched that bit again?
No.
Fuck. And then the other side of the coin, man, like, so gnarly, eh?
Yeah.
Like the highs and the lows.
Well,
of the
as much
sport.
as it changed it for the good for me, it was, for the tough for him,
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, dude, I think it's worth giving Joey flowers for the, like, he's had a tough go, like, his whole career, you know, and, like, man, it was hard seeing him lose that world championship this year too. You know, like, he's just, and it was very cool of Ando to say, like, how underrated.
He's such a good dude too, and like he's very misunderstood, partially because he likes it that way, I think. But he's an awesome dude.
Yeah, and
he's hilarious when you get to know him.
Really,
he's like weird dark humor, but he's funny.
Yeah, he might be one of the most underrated Supercross riders.
Yeah,
like he got 6 on the weekend, bro.
Yeah,
did he get 5th or 6th the weekend before? Too?
5th the weekend before. Yeah,
dude, that's insane.
On a privateer, well, not privateer, but like
pretty
on a
close,
not
bro.
factory bike.
Yeah,
yeah.
Like he's an unbelievable guy that he really has kind of never got credit in the sport. You
Absolutely.
know? But that's a kill or be killed scenario, and you just won.
Yeah,
like you did what it took to win that race.
Yeah, I mean there was no option. If I don't hit him, like
he wins.
Yeah, I'm sitting here with some regret right now. I think at least try. Like even if we both go down, I shot my shot.
Yeah, man, and I mean it's funny. I said that I was like kind of joking, but like kind of serious at the same time. As I was like, bro, Chase Sexton will take out Cooper Webb at San Diego Supercross round 2.
Yeah,
but won't take him out for $1 million.
Yeah,
I just and you there's like I don't want to win like that. It's like, bro, you've just been through 17 rounds.
I don't think that way.
Me neither.
Yeah,
like I wonder.
Like, there's so many people that say like that's fake or whatever. Like the the end, like the interview, but like that was just like 15 years of struggle in one video, you know? And yeah, if I don't do that, then I'm not a racer.
Mm-hmm. And you're not a champion.
Yeah.
And that changed your
And
whole,
rightfully so.
and that changed your whole career.
Oh, absolutely.
Like everything changed from you.
Yeah.
I mean, so you're on 170 grand that year.
Yeah.
175 grand, but paying 140
At least, yeah.
So you got some wins.
Yeah.
So 4 wins. So you're at what?
250.
250 grand
Yeah.
from that. So it's kind of like it's all right.
Yeah.
But then you went on to make millions of dollars
Yeah, so that
from this.
like in the end that year, I think I made like 2.7 million over the 2 championships and 11 wins or whatever. 7 wins.
over.
9 wins.
So did you win outdoors that
Yeah.
year?
I have five overalls outdoors.
So from 175 grand, you turned it into $2.5 million.
Yeah.
And that was crucial
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was it.
in doing that.
Yeah, that was the one.
Fuck.
Yeah.
That is wild, dude. There's honestly not many things you could do in 1 year to turn $175,000 into 2.5 mil.
No, it's a pretty good return, right? You take that.
But you bet on yourself.
Yeah, I did. But it doesn't always end like that, you know? And right from the start, it was, again, like, we've done all this, we've taken this risk, and now I'm hurt with a broken scaphoid, which could take 3 or 4 months to heal, and you miss all of Supercross, and it was all for a waste, you know?
Could never heal.
Yeah, could be the end over a race that no one ever gave a single turd about.
Yeah, that's a crazy season, dude. And so you go from never winning a race to winning 4 Supercross races, winning the championship, 5 overalls in outdoors.
Yeah, 5 overalls. I think I won 11 motos.
The championship. Next season, again.
Yep. Supercross was okay. I won the championship, won 3 races. But it was harder. It was just not as special.
Did the plate feel heavy?
That and
Expectations.
at the first race at Dallas, John Gallagher came up to me on the track walk and he was like, "Hey, just to let you know, you're still on probation and we'll be watching." And that was like, what? How? You know? Like, it's a whole new season, but it was a year to date probation. You go out in the first lap of the first main event. First of all, there's that huge pileup on the start in Dallas where Marty gets obliterated. Marty was better than me all day on that Dallas day. First lap, Fortner cuts down, clean him out. Like, not intentionally. Like, he literally turns down mid-corner, blasts him, and I'm just like, I'm getting the black flag. Like, I'm literally about to be a number 1 plate, getting the black flag. And I won the race straight to the AMA truck. Like, what are you doing? Like, we told you you're on probation. I'm like, dude, this guy turned down on the first lap of the main event in the middle of 8 dudes, and I'm there. My bad. Like, I can't race like this. So the whole season felt like I couldn't race. Like, I was
You're walking on
kind of like
eggshells.
handcuffed to the side because if I hit somebody, like, they're gonna start docking me points or positions or, you know, suspend me or what. Like, it just felt bad. It just felt bad from literally the first lap of the first main. And I was able to win, but it just wasn't the same.
Yeah, just a different feeling
Yeah,
the whole
it just
time.
felt different.
And I'm sure just expectations then too, you know, like you'd never really been the guy, you'd never been the favorite. Like, that's got to come with like its own whole pressures, you know.
Oh yeah, for sure it did, and I probably was a little bit that, but mostly just the probation thing had me so jacked up. Like, every weekend I went there, like, you know, I've got to make sure I don't mess up. You know, it was like, instead of being able to go there and attack the race the way I wanted to or whatever, I needed to first pay attention to all this other stuff and other people's actions. And like, I kind of felt like it was open season on me. Like, Fortner was pretty good those first couple races until he got hurt. I think he got hurt at Minneapolis. It was a Triple Crown. And he was like kind of giving me the stuff. Cross jumped me at Atlanta, busted my face all up. It was a Triple Crown as well. And like,
you can't retaliate.
just gonna sit here with a bloody nose and take it, like, because if I hit him, then I'm screwed, you know. So it was a different dynamic to racing that I had never experienced before.
I want to say a massive congratulations to the team at Fist Handwear, because starting right now, Fist is proud to be officially distributed in the US through a partnership with Parts Unlimited, bringing their gloves to riders all across the US. That means it is easier than ever to get your hands in a pair, no matter where you are. I've been banging on about how amazing Fist gloves are for the last 10 years, and now it's easier than ever for US riders to get a pair of their own. If you've heard me talk about them on the podcast before, but never tried a pair of your own, now there's no excuse. No matter what you ride, motocross, BMX, road, or even on the job, Fist has a glove designed for every condition, from blazing heat to icy cold. Apart from being the best performing gloves in the world, they also have a design for any flavor, from wild prints and bold graphics to collabs with some of the world's best athletes. And it doesn't just stop at gloves. Fist has moto socks, tees, hoodies, and hats, the full kit and caboodle. I've trusted Fist for over a decade, and I don't plan on changing. Do yourself a favor, join the Fist army today at fisthandwear.co, or head in to your local dealer and tell them that they need to start stocking Fist. And so what, you go to the 450 in 19?
Yeah, we went outdoors. I went at Hangtown, messed up my thumb the week before Glen Helen. I think I got fourth at Glen Helen. And then Colorado, that's when Joey hit me in the first turn, blew out my shoulder, season done. Go to the 450 for 19.
So let's go back to that conversation with Joey.
Yeah.
So you just start talking to him about it. What was his version of it?
Basically he didn't know.
He just didn't know you were there.
Yeah.
How?
I don't know.
Who was on his pit board?
Shanty.
True.
Yeah.
Great mechanic.
Yeah.
Maybe he wasn't looking.
Those aren't my details to share, but
yeah. Crazy to not know.
Yeah.
Because so watching it again, I'm looking at the whoop section, and it's like he coasts into that.
He didn't know.
Yeah, he just coasted
How,
into
I
that
don't know,
right-hander.
but he didn't know.
Damn.
Yeah.
Because, he should have won.
Yeah.
Fuck.
I mean, he just needed to charge one extra section, and it was over.
If he charged through those whoops
It's over.
and gets into that right-hander with the same speed that you did, it would have been really hard
Doesn't matter.
for you to get him.
It's not even a conversation.
Ugh. But that right there is why we love sport.
Yeah.
That's why, as a fan, a sport changed my life.
Yeah.
I cared.
Yeah.
I was so into it, and I was invested in the people and the heartbreak and the emotion.
Yeah.
And it's because of nights like that.
Yeah.
Because it means something. It means something to you guys, but it also means something to us as
Oh,
fans,
yeah. Yeah.
We feel everything.
I feel that, having had that experience, it changed sort of my perspective on other sports, because now when I watch things and I can see people that are truly in the moment, just doing the absolute best performance that they can do, and they're emotional after it, it almost makes me emotional, and I have zero attachment to it. I'm not a sports fan. I'm probably an avid NASCAR fan, just because people hate NASCAR, but I love NASCAR. I can relate to it far more than I can relate to F1 drivers. It's just kind of where I'm from.
Yeah.
I grew up 10 miles from the Bristol racetrack, so NASCAR is kind of my thing. But the sports and the emotion that's tied to it, there's nothing like it. That's why we show up.
Yeah. It just personifies the human struggle.
Yeah.
And it just puts you on display.
Yeah.
In front of the world.
Yeah.
You just can't hide from it.
Yeah.
It's just so real. And it's
whenever
so
I got
visible.
to her, she was already crying. Jenny. And it was just yeah, what do I do now?
Yeah. Fuck. It's crazy, man.
It was gnarly, super gnarly.
So the 2020 season, obviously that's your 450 championship.
Yep.
How does your life change from that point as well? Like to go from making 175, obviously, well, 2.5 million has to change your life.
Yeah.
And then probably similar the next year. Like,
Yeah.
man, what, even just that.
It didn't change our life one bit.
Really?
We bought a motorhome because kind of we had to for tax purposes.
Yeah.
And that was it. Still lived in the same house that we bought. Still same cars. Oh, I bought a Raptor. That was like the thing. But I already had a decent truck, so it wasn't like
Yeah, it wasn't life changing.
That was it.
What about just security mentally?
Oh, that was the biggest thing.
Yeah.
It was like, now how many times can I do this? And like, how much better can I make these
My program.
systems and programs that I'm using? Like, buy an ice bath, buy a sauna, hire G. Like,
Invest.
let's level this up a little bit. Yeah.
Invest.
Yeah. And that's what we did.
And so let's talk about that 2020 season then. Because that was a strange year, strange season.
Yeah.
But you end up winning.
Yeah. So, actually, 2019, I almost won New York Supercross. Last lap, or two or three laps ago, I was leading, made a mistake. Coop passed me, got second. So that was like a pretty tough season up to that point. I got hurt in the off season, like I said earlier, and it just took me forever to get going. I don't think I raced until like round 7 or 8, and then it just took me like 7 or 8 rounds to find my 450 Supercross feet. Got second there, got 5th in Vegas, was pretty solid. Like, probably could have been on the podium in Vegas, but we were playing championship kind of as a company.
As a team.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Coop was 3rd. I think Marv was 4th. I was 5th.
Do not pass.
Don't
Coop.
touch him. And then we went outdoors, and it was really good. Like, right off the bat, it was top 5. I think I went 5-3 at Hangtown. And just, I raced 22 of the 24 motos. 21 of those motos, I was in the top 5.
Huh.
I only got 1/8 at Washougal in the first moto I crashed. So like, quietly, it was really good. I won a moto at Southwick, went 3-1 at Southwick, kind of dominated the second moto. It was pretty big for me. Like, wow, I've gone from a place where in 2008 I never thought I would see a factory 450. I never thought I would see a factory 250 again, let alone win in the 450 class on a factory bike. Like, that was pipe dream, right? And went to Destinations in 19. We went there a couple weeks early, did the whole thing, didn't net a result because Jason and Justin went down the first lap, and just like shit circumstances. It was like totally just not meant to be.
It was a wash.
Yeah. We could have easily been on the podium, in my opinion.
How was it to go back to Europe, though, after all those
It was great.
years?
I love going back. Like, I still relished getting to go back to England and see the Pococks and see everybody and all my friends. And I enjoy Europe. Like, there's a high chance that had I felt like I could fit in MX1, we would have stayed there. But I just was not there mentally. I don't know that we would have ever come home because we both enjoyed it a lot, So yeah, go to 20, get some insane flu right off the bat, like Tuesday before A1. Really should not have raced A1. Was just a hazard. So sick and just really, really sick. Like, the sickest I've ever been in my life by far.
Probably
Not even
COVID,
close.
bro.
You and Coop both.
Yeah. Mine lasted for like 6 weeks though. Like, it was,
Dude,
I had
that long COVID.
I had a fever for like 14 days. Like, it was silly.
Fever for 14 days.
It was mental, dude.
Because you
So-
still grinded.
Yeah, still hammering. My wife found this like liver detox thing that I could do to try to help with my symptoms. This was after like a month of the whole thing. Got a little better, started getting better results. I think I went like 7.53 at Dallas. It was a Triple Crown, 7.53. So it was like stepping in the right direction. I think I got 4th or 5th overall with that. And it felt like we were making some gains. And crashed the Thursday before Atlanta. So it went Dallas, Atlanta, Indy Daytona, I think, or Daytona Indy, whatever. Which one did it stop at? Indy? So Daytona happened. So I got hurt the week before Daytona.
Yep.
Got hurt the week before Daytona. Really bad. Like, really, really bad. Broke my T4, 5,
God
8,
damn.
8, 9, 10, 11. 2 of those were 50% loss of height, which means they crushed into itself like 50%. And then...
And you don't have height to lose.
No. Broken wrist, concussion, couple broken ribs, 2 punctured lungs.
Oh.
Full deal.
Fuck.
Yeah.
How?
I crashed in the whoops. Like, there was a set of whoops, and you went right 90 double, and you could go outside right triple or inside 90 double. And I was just like one of the last sessions of the day, and you had to brake in the whoops to get out to get down the last one. And I think I braked and knifed it, and it just like into the next whoop.
Just dug.
Yeah. But I was fine. Like, woke up, I was out for 30 seconds or whatever. I've never really had like lasting concussion symptoms of any sort, really. Knew exactly what happened, knew, everything, but was in bad shape, was coughing blood, and like my practice mechanic drove me to the hospital, and they're like, hey, we're going to transport you because you have a double punctured lung, and we can't really handle that there. That here, if it deflates. They were still up, but they were bleeding, And they were like, but you only got 1 broken rib and your wrist is fine. And I'm like, I'm in a lot of pain. Stay the night in the hospital, go home the next day, get on the spin bike, and start spinning. Like, if I got 1 broken rib and my wrist is fine, probably need to go to Atlanta. Atlanta. So I'm like, man, I'm really like hurting. And Brittany's like, you don't look so good. So I spent like 2 days in the bathtub. Didn't go to Atlanta. Spent like 2 days in the bathtub. G comes out for Daytona. And like,
what were you doing in the bathtub?
It's the only place I was comfortable. Like, it's the only way I could
just floating.
Just floating. It's my back.
Bro.
So G comes and he's like, yeah, you're pretty rough. Like, he actually adjusted me, kind of passed out because it was like so painful. Super lucky. Super lucky. So he's like, just come back to California with me. And it's all like kicking off, right? Like the whole thing's happening. So get to California here, Costa Mesa, and go to the imaging place, get the imaging done. He calls me, he's like, hey, you're right. Like, you got 6 broken vertebrae, your wrist is broken, and yeah, they missed all this on the x-ray. So he's like, you're gonna need a couple weeks. So I mean, this is like 10 days in at this point. So it was actually comforting for me because I wasn't crazy. Like, I was in a lot of pain. And I knew it. It wasn't all adding up for me. Like, I've had a broken rib. I've had a broken wrist. I've raced with a broken rib. I've raced with a broken wrist. Like, it wasn't a big deal. But this other thing was massive, right? Like, it was pretty bad. And, 50% loss of height, they would typically do surgery on that, I would say. So they missed it, and then it was already like,
it's going down the road,
yeah. So it was kind of like kick the can down the road. So, like, had they done surgery, like, nothing would have happened after that, right? Like, 2020's outdoor season would have been a wash. So, yeah, give it like 6 weeks, and it's all, closed down, no more racing. And then they start talking about a schedule for June or whatever it was to go to Salt Lake. And I start riding again, and I just can't do it. Like, I couldn't skim whoops. Like, could not hit whoops for whatever reason. Like,
because
I crashed and then, but like, yeah, just dysfunction deluxe. Like, couldn't ride, couldn't do anything. Couldn't get on my own way.
Physically couldn't ride?
Mentally.
Or mentally?
Yeah.
Okay.
Physically, I was fine. Like, physically came
You'd
back
recovered.
around.
Yep.
Yeah, it was all good, but just could not get out of my own way.
Makes sense.
So looked into some treatments for just like trauma and that kind of stuff. Chose like one last straw before I did something extreme. And that was something called NET, neuroemotional technique. It's like muscle testing, kind of this whole thing. Similar to, I don't want to say similar to ayahuasca in terms of like what you're doing, but like there's no medicine involved, no plant, no nothing. It's just like basically targeting trapped trauma in your cells. So go through this process.
So what do they do?
It's literally like muscle testing, visualization. It has to do with your meridians in your body. It was pretty in depth. It was a game changer for me. Like having
Really?
always sort of struggled with like doubt and anxiety and that kind of stuff. This was like, I left there and I was like, I was almost freaked out because I was like, my mind was blank for the first time in my entire life. Like so stripped down and just like, I just had a calm that I couldn't even explain.
So, I mean, how many sessions did you do
One.
this? One.
Yeah.
How long was the session?
It was supposed to be like an hour and it was like 4.
Huh.
Yeah. So Brittany went with me and she'll tell you, like, if I didn't see it with my own 2 eyes, I wouldn't even believe.
So what did they do to you?
No, it's literally like, you're just like kind of going inward and like digging this stuff out. And like,
So it's like almost a therapy session?
it's therapy. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Neuroemotional technique.
Are they doing anything physically to you?
No, just like muscle testing. Like, you've ever done muscle testing?
So like when they press against my arm
Yeah.
or whatever and you...
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, did that. Got to a point where I could ride, but it wasn't very good. And this was like 2 weeks before Salt Lake. And I told Brittany, I was like, I just need more time. Like, I don't think I should go racing yet. Like, they're not going to press me because it's a pretty big injury that I've had. And like, let's just stay home. So I went like 2 more days riding. And we decided, like, let's just go. We'll race a couple times, take the motor home, like, get out of Florida, be a change of scenery. You know, Utah's pretty open. Like, at the time, that's what they were telling us. And let's just go give it a try. So we went, and first race, I got 5th. Now, that was, like, the best result I'd had the whole year, basically. And I was, like, really in the hunt. Like, Jason was 4th, I think, and he didn't beat me by very far. And it was like, okay. And then the second race, I led a little bit, got on the podium. And I was like, all right. The third race was the really, really late night one. And I led for like 20 laps and got 3rd behind Coop and Eli.
But they were
on another
rolling
level.
that night. Yeah.
Then the mud race,
Yeah.
I got 4th. I got lapped, but I got 4th.
Yeah.
And like,
I got lapped, but I got...
yeah. So it started this whole snowball of things like
Yeah.
leading up, and
Yeah.
got another podium. Then the last one, I won. I was leading. My number plate fell off. Started burning through my boot, and then Jason's seat fell off, and I won. The night before, one of the Husky employees had passed away, and he had been working for Brownie that year. Like, he was a media bike mechanic, but he worked for Brownie like when Brownie needed someone, and he had two failures that the boys always ripped him out. His seat fell off, his number plate fell off, and like, yeah, it was just a
So
crazy.
he passed away and then
Yeah.
your number plate fell.
Yeah, and then we went on 2-3 on the podium that day. So it was like pretty
Wow.
pretty insane. But
Yeah, there it is.
what's that, the last one?
Yeah. Salt Lake City 7.
So yeah, we did those.
1,
went
2,
home.
3. That is wild.
Yeah. So again, like, you know, what we've talked about, like just 1 degree away from not even going to, yeah, that's my only 450 Supercross win. So we go home and there's no outdoor schedule, and we all kind of agreed to like take a couple weeks off, but like keep training, but not ride motorcycles. And then we started back, and there was still no outdoor schedule, but we were like, it was like 6 or 7 weeks. Sorry. Jesus, I'm that guy today. Before it ended up starting.
Yeah.
So we were digging. Me, Coop, Marv, like we were just hammering. And yeah, got to the first race and I won. So then again, like it's like you've never won a 450 outdoor race.
So you're coming back off the win
Yeah.
for Supercross.
Yeah, so I went won the last Supercross, waited like 8 weeks, won another race, and then won again. And then I'm like, 15-point lead or something going into the third race. So it's like, oh wow, like he's a contender. Eli's bike had blown up in 2 motos already, I think. So he was kind of down, and it was just like, vaulted straight into it.
The ball just got rolling.
Yeah.
How many races happened that year?
9.
Okay. So it's pretty much a full season, basically.
Almost.
Yeah. That's insane.
Yeah.
Do you have confidence at this point?
Yeah, it felt better. It felt like, again, like it was the first time that I had ever really just like had a clear mind. Like I can't even explain it to you, but
So it stuck around after that therapy.
It did for sure. And I've been back a couple times, but never quite to the level that the first one was, And
what stuff did you have to unpack?
just a lot of like insecurity from childhood on, like pretty much was the main thing. And got down the stretch and had that flat at Millville, which cost me a lot of points, and AC was starting to like roll a bit. And yeah, dude, that was stressful because, and the boys that were involved that day still don't believe me to this day, but I did not see them telling me to pull in. Like I genuinely did not see them. And I see everything on the track, but I did not see them for whatever reason. And rode around for 15 minutes with a flat, got a 16th place, and lost a boatload of points.
So you would have pulled in, got a new tire, or got a new rim, and you would have finished better than 16th?
Maybe. Had I seen them the very first lap and they had a good run, yeah, probably. But I didn't see them. So.
And then that turned that championship into a pressure cooker.
Yeah. Then it was like, you got to respond. And then the next weekend was WW where I went 1-1 and kind of, that was what sealed the deal.
You might have one of the craziest careers of all time. Like I didn't really think that we were going to do like just the full career deep dive.
Yeah.
But when you do a full career deep dive into Zach Osborne, you go, Jesus, dude, this is insane.
It was quite the ride. It's been quite the ride.
And you come out of the other side just like you're such a cool dude.
Thank you.
And to go through everything that you've been through, so close, so far.
Yeah.
So many letdowns, so many heartbreaks, so much failure, so much doubt.
Yeah.
Bro, to get through that shit.
Yeah, but I never really saw it that way. Like I don't know why. I never really. I think because it was so bad at the beginning, like 06 and 07 were so bad that it just never felt that bad after that. Like for whatever reason, I guess for the fact that it was so bad. Like I was still better than that. Even at my worst, I was still better than I was in 06,
Yeah. How did the 450 title feel?
Like a huge relief. More than anything. Like the 17 Supercross title was definitely the one that takes the cake. Like it was just the most insane experience. Physically, mentally, performance-wise, emotionally, all the things that culminated at that one corner, it just was like outrageous. Like to get there was just insane. But in 20, for like 9 weeks, I was literally holding my breath. It was, I think we did all the races in a row except for one off weekend or something. But I was just like, don't put a foot wrong. You cannot let the ball go the other way. And then the flat happened and I was like, no, like, how is this going to how am I going to squander this? Like, so yeah, it felt like I crossed the finish line and I was just like, thank God I don't have to do this, live under this anymore,
And so how did you see your career going after that? Like you thought you'd stick around a bit longer?
Oh yeah. My like sort of plan was to race 2 more years after that. I had 1 more year on my contract, and then I was hoping to re-up for 1 or 2 more years, like depending on everything.
And then the back injury.
Yeah.
And is that a thing from a crash, or that kind of came out of nowhere?
A little bit from my crash earlier that in 20.
Yeah.
But it was at my L5S1, which is the lowest, that's where your lumbar connects to your sacrum.
Yeah.
But in 2017, I had like a day where my back was just like locked up. So I went to the chiropractor and they took x-rays, and the dude was like, "How are you walking?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "You have spina bifida." And I'm like, "Do what?" Like really spooked me, because he's like, you shouldn't even be walking. And I'm like, "What do you mean? Like I'm perfectly normal." And he was like, "No, you have spina bifida." But I have what's called spina bifida occulta, which is like an incomplete vertebrae, but an incomplete spina bifida, because spina bifida can be like you're severely handicapped.
Yeah.
So it was like, close to being that, but not. So my vertebrae is incomplete, so it makes things a little bit tricky. And yeah, ultimately, what ended it.
How did it feel to walk away? Did you feel like you had done what you set out to do?
Yeah, far more than that. I don't know that I ever dreamed of being a champion is one thing. Like, I don't know that was my ever my ambition, but like once I started to win, it was like, how good can I be? Like it was more like a self pursuit of being on like, how good can I make this? And then I got money, and then the more money I got, the sort of weirder I could be. Like the more things I could strip back, the more things I could pay someone else to do, the more I could focus on my job and use less brain power to care about something else. Like, don't bother me with that. Like, I'm doing this, And then it was like, wow, how good can I get? So I think, like, for me, the hardest part is that I still don't know.
Yeah, and you kind of walked away from that.
Yeah, from like the peak. Like, it was just getting good. We were just getting to the good part in my mind.
Because that is a thing. And like on the Weege pod, where I'm like, my famous line is like, "That's not a problem I solve."
Yeah.
And when you can get into a place where you only solve the problems you want to solve,
oh yeah, it's sweet.
Fuck, that's living.
Yeah.
If you've got a project.
Yeah.
And that's what I think about this. I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, this is my race team. This is the thing. And I hand off so much shit, and I say no to so much shit, so I can
exactly
really zone in. And that is addictive. And when I was home for the last 5 months, bro, I was fucking not great.
Yeah.
Because I'd lost that thing.
Yeah. And, the way that it all kind of went down, like I said earlier, with them wanting sort of hard deadlines on what that was going to be, and then a job offer that in the end didn't happen, it all just kind of felt like just didn't end the way
it just went.
Felt. Yeah. Yeah. So then when Yamaha approached me about the enduro thing, it was like, okay, this is kind of like a step down in intensity, but still doing something that I've really always wanted to do.
I was going to say, you ended up where you always thought you would.
Yeah. I had this crazy, like, long COVID, weird health thing all of 22 that basically crippled me. Like, not like physically crippled, but like there were days where I didn't leave bed, like just sick, anxious, panic attacks, like all these things, and could never really figure it out. Got it mostly figured out. Did the enduro year, had a really good off season, like had so much fun riding my dirt bike, felt good again, back was great. Went to the first race, won a day at a sprint enduro, which is part grass track, part enduro.
It's like kind of more motocrossy in a way.
Similar, yeah. This was at south of the border, so it was a little bit of motocross, a little bit of grass track, and then an enduro test that was pretty enduro-y. That I thought there's no way I can, I can hang in the grass track. There's no way I'm going to win an enduro test. That wasn't even on my radar. ended up winning like 3 of the enduro tests that weekend. Won the day on Sunday. Got stuck in a mud hole on Saturday that cost me the overall win for the weekend. But like was in a really good spot. Like left there thinking like,
I could do this.
friggin' enduro rider, right? Like, and next week, I tipped over, elbowed a tree, like went like this to catch myself from hitting my face on a tree, and broke my elbow. And that was it. Like, just never found any sort of rhythm or result or anything. So I didn't feel like I could do it again. So I just stopped.
And at this point, dude, you've got money. You've been successful.
Yeah, but it just
you've won championships.
Fire still burns today.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you were ripping. So all right, everyone. We've got to the point of the podcast where Zach's gonna announce his big news.
No, there's no big news.
Come on, man. You've got big news.
They're they asked, but we'll see.
Did they really?
Mm.
See, I knew. You're out. He was ripping. Was he ripping? Well, Kiefer didn't want to smoke.
It's a long shot, dude. Like, I mean,
just come and do a couple.
I'm
hang with
gonna
the
do
boys.
Loretta's.
You're gonna
That
do
goes
Loretta's.
great. Then maybe I'll do the last 3 or something if they want that.
I knew it. I could feel it out there today.
But
I could feel it.
also, like, I know, right now I weigh probably 25 pounds more than I need to.
Fighting weight.
There's only one way to do it in my mind. That's the way that I did it when I was my best, right? So for me, in terms of safety, whatever, however you want to say that, security, like if I can tick all the boxes and I can get all rolling again, then I would do it. But it's a long ways. Like I'm a long ways away from that, Do I think I could prep for the next 4 months and go get 10th? Probably. Would that
be fulfilling?
Would it? Probably.
I just think when you said you went through the therapy to like get rid of your insecurities or like to deal with insecurities.
Yeah.
Bro, that's the secret.
Oh yeah.
That's the secret to life.
Yeah.
And there was a point, I think that if thinking about my own life, I think that when I got sent back to Australia in 2018, that was like the biggest ego crushing moment of my life. And to build back up from that, I feel like I was always very confident, and I was always like, I had like an ability to do things that I probably shouldn't have been able to do in a way,
Yeah.
like I could put myself in any
Got that
room.
Riz, dog.
I could talk to any person, but I had insecurities though, and there was just something about that period of my life. Started jiu-jitsu. I started doing a lot of meditation, like the thing that people get from ayahuasca. Like I spoke to AC about this.
That was my extreme play.
That was going to be the next thing that you did.
Yeah, I probably would have never done it because I just
I can't think you
don't
would have
believe.
never done drugs.
I've never done any drugs.
Yeah.
But that was like the things that I read. Like this was the last stop
Before that.
before something else.
Yeah.
Maybe not ayahuasca because it's pretty extreme.
Yeah.
But I definitely I was the first person in AC's DMs. Like, tell me,
Tell me what.
tell me about that.
Well, I got there through meditation, bro.
Yeah, and Wim Hof. Wim Hof.
Yeah.
That was a huge piece for me.
Really?
Yeah. Started
the
that in
breathing and-
2016. Was able to really find a center pretty easy.
Yep.
And bam, you're there. Like meditation, I struggle with because I struggle to quiet my mind for any period of time.
Well, so the thing that helped me was not as much the meditation, but so 2020, through COVID, bro, I just read so 2019 I started meditating.
Yeah.
But I was just meditating. I wasn't studying and really understanding what was underneath it. And I got to the point where I could basically intellectualize the ego and so then it changed the way I was meditating.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't so much about quieting my mind. Even now when I meditate, I always say probably 7 minutes. I'm pretty fucking like an alligator. Just it's a very low beat. But there was literally a point, and it was kind of like doing the podcast where I had the thing because I was so worried when I started it that people are going to think that you're doing this out of ego.
Yeah.
And that rattled me. And I went on this process. And so that's when I started reading about meditation because I wanted to understand like the ego component of it. And I was literally sitting, I'd done a show. It was in my studio. So this was probably like August 2019 was when I built the studio. So it would have been somewhere between then and 2020.
Yeah.
And I did the show and the guests left and it was just me. I don't think Ronan wasn't working for me. No one was working. It was literally by myself in this fucking big studio that I just built for myself. And I sat there after the guests left and I was like going through my head like, man, where was my ego in that? And it literally just hit me like not wanting to have an ego
It's causing you to have an ego.
is ego.
Yeah.
And it was just like I went, it was like my brain exploded. I sat there and we've always had like the grey wall, dude.
Yeah.
And like I fucking stared at this grey wall. I don't know how long. I was gone. I was just literally sat with that.
Yeah.
Changed my life. So like that clear thing.
Yeah.
Fully changed my life. And dude, it was years. It's definitely faded now and I probably need to dip back into the well
same.
a little bit because you kind of go back living you can't help but have an ego.
Right.
Everyone lives through their ego.
Yeah.
But is that ego a tool? Are you aware of what it is? Do you have any kind of influence around it? But dude, literally years, I was a completely different person. And I think COVID helped because I was very still.
Yeah.
I was in the same place. My wife and I, we weren't married at the time, but we were separated. Like she was in a different country.
Yeah.
I was fucking as locked in as I've ever
Well,
been.
I think that COVID helped me a little bit too in that sense because no one was asking me for anything. You couldn't go anywhere. You couldn't do anything. It was just like the perfect little pocket for me.
Yep. I felt the same.
Just going riding, coming home, go to the airport. There's only like 10 people in the security line. Perfect. Like a lot of the like uncontrollables were now far less uncontrollable. Like they were far easier, far simpler. I was battling less things, you know?
Yep.
So it was perfect for me.
Yep. Yeah, it had a really crazy effect on my mind. I got to like live in that space.
Yeah.
And again, like it was weird doing the show because that's like when the show blew up the most.
Yeah.
Like it really ramped up then. But I was so disconnected.
Yeah.
Like I would do the show. It'd get like the Brian Deegan episode we did in COVID got 250,000 downloads on iTunes in a day, bro. It was like retarded numbers.
People were just consuming content.
On the other side of the world.
Yeah.
And I would just like walk back to my apartment I fucking took my TV off the wall. Like I stripped I didn't have a couch. I slept on the floor.
Yeah.
Like I went full blown monk mode.
Yeah, that's sick.
And
I respect it.
It was just this crazy, it was just like this crazy juxtaposition. But
Yeah.
so I feel like I know that thing that
Yeah.
you went through, even though it was through a different way. You know?
Yeah, no, I can understand that. Like for me, like it's always been just getting a clear space where I feel comfortable in my own skin, sort of, I guess you would say, because
Yep.
I was kind of grew up the fat kid that could ride dirt bikes, was super talented, had some not so fat periods, but like the snack pack thing really affected me as a young guy, like a 17-year-old. You know, it was pretty tough on me. So yeah, like finding those pockets, there's even riding, like that 2017 race is the pinnacle of riding for me. But people are like, why don't you just go like ride for fun? And I'm like, because for me, what riding is fun is when I'm blacked out. Like when I don't have any thoughts, that's when I know I'm in the pocket. That's why I ride. That's what I'm searching for. And even on the 2-stroke, it's hard for me to find that. Like I've been around the 2-stroke a lot lately. It's hard to get my heart rate up enough to get like in the zone. It's hard to like feel those G loads. Today on the 450, like if it's 2 laps, if it's 1 lap, if it's 15 minutes, like depending on the track, I'm not going to go easy. Like I just want to go out there,
get into that space.
Get in that space. That's why I ride. Like that's the fun of it for me. Putzing around, not fun. Like go hammer with my buddies a little bit. That's sometimes fun. But like for me,
You want to
digging. I want to dig. Like that's where I feel. Honestly, that's where my mind is the clearest, and that's where I feel the closest to God. Like that's just peace.
That's
when,
why we
when
all
there's
do it.
nothing there. You know?
That's why we all do it.
Yeah.
And
It
I
looks
don't,
different for people, but
I don't think people realize that's why.
oh yeah,
And so I think that when I'm talking about like studying the whole meditation thing, it's like that's the link.
Yeah.
Because my whole life was, I wanted to ride. We lived in a shitty town. We dealt with a lot. It was a rough place. There was a lot I wanted to escape from.
Yeah.
Where did I go? Dirt bike.
trap.
And I was like, why? And I was obsessed with that whole question of like, why do I love this thing so much that
Yeah.
I'm not even that good at? It's never going to be a career. It's
Right.
and it was literally just figuring out like it's because the voice in your head that torments you
Yeah.
goes away.
Yeah, 100%. That's
And
exactly
that's
right.
it. And that's what we all do. Whether we know it or not, that's the feeling that we're addicted to. And
Yeah.
man, that's what in meditation, that's where you go.
Do you know about like inner monologue and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, fuck yeah.
So my daughter is very similar to me, like thinking wise and just the way that we operate. My wife, there's a statistic, I don't remember what it is. It's only a certain percentage of people have an inner monologue, like a kind of a self
A self. Yeah.
talking,
Yep.
you know? And she doesn't have that. And I'm like, I envy you so much. And she's the most not anxious person, the most grounded, dead level, doesn't care about, nobody's going to sway
You
her.
found a unicorn,
Dude,
bro.
trust me, she's beyond a unicorn. But I envy it, right? Like she's happy as Larry to just sit in silence and it's silent. I'm like, that's kind of gnarly, you know?
Bro, my noise,
Yeah, it's deep, right? Loud, heavy, yeah.
24
I'm with you.
7, bro.
I'm with
But
you.
you know, that's why I love jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
I do jiu-jitsu for 1 second,
yeah. You're
I'm
there.
gone.
Yeah,
People, and like I got friends that like I was saying, like I went in, like
Yeah.
right at the start. So I went in on that when my life was the worst.
yeah,
So I got deported basically. I went back to Australia. I had $3,000 in my account. Wes fucking bought me that camera right there for a job. I traded him a working shoot for that camera. And I had that, I had another camera, and I had these 2 microphones. I was at rock fucking bottom.
yeah,
The noise in my head at that period of time was so loud.
yeah,
I never ever thought it would go away.
yeah.
And then when I walked into that gym,
Boom.
quietest it's ever been in my life.
Yeah.
So guess what I did for the next 3
Chased
fucking
it.
years?
Yeah,
Stayed there.
Yeah.
You know, but I think that's the thing that I learned through the journey that I went on with like meditation.
Yeah.
I think a lot of things like the jiu-jitsu thing helped, the meditation helped, the podcast helped. Like a lot of things helped to where I still definitely have an inner monologue, but I think I understand my relationship to it.
Yeah.
To where like I just don't need to listen to that
fair enough.
anymore. I know what the voice is now.
Yeah,
And I think that when that voice causes problems is when you identify
Right.
with that voice.
Yeah.
But your wife is a perfect example. You're not the voice in your head
Yeah.
because she exists without it.
yeah,
So when you can exist and when you ride,
Yeah.
the voice isn't there, and
Right.
it's when you ride your best.
yeah.
When you're having sex, you're not really thinking.
Nope.
When you're fucking, when
Sounds-
that nut's coming out,
Yeah.
you're pretty fucking clear in that moment. You know, like there's so many moments in our life, in our everyday life,
Yeah.
where that voice goes away.
Right.
But we don't spend the majority of our time there, and we don't deconstruct those moments.
Yeah.
And so when it's like, you're a fat piece of shit, bro, no girl's ever going to think that you're hot.
Yeah.
You're fucking never going to win a 450.
Yeah.
When you take that voice to be true and you take it to be you, that's when the problems
Yeah.
start. And that's when you say like you kind of shed the insecurities.
Yeah.
All it is, an insecurity is a thought about yourself
Right.
that's negative. So when you can
That you've attached
shed-
emotion to.
well, you've attached yourself
Yeah,
to that. And when the fucking thoughts go in my head all the time,
yeah,
and I'm just not as attached.
Yeah.
I'm not as attached to me. I'm not as attached to the idea of me, success, fucking whatever.
Whatever.
You know, and I think that once you can turn that corner, The voice never goes away. And that, I guess it kind of fades a little, or it stops
Yeah.
meaning as much. But that's when you can really start living.
I think once I finally won a race, it became like, because I had put so much weight and so much emotion and so many taglines and so many
Attachment.
things on winning a race, that once I like kind of freed that, it was just self-pursuit. Like,
Yep.
let's
Perfect way to say it.
Let's see the top of this thing.
That is literally the perfect way to say it. Self-pursuit.
Yeah. But when you have so many emotions attached to a result or a number or a this or that, it's so hard. Like, because, you know, if your goals get a top 5, you get a bad start immediately. Like, before the race has even
Failure.
begun, you failed.
Yeah.
You know? And that's hard to break.
Dude, epic. I could do this with you for 4 more hours, but literally we've been in here 4 hours.
Holy
so-
crap, have we really?
Bro, honestly, unreal.
Thank you.
I was going to fucking bench race, privateers, scoop tires.
We have
hot
another
takes,
episode.
Hot takes.
I'll be back out.
This was fucking awesome.
Thank you.
Bro,
I enjoyed it a lot.
I'm so glad that your career turned out the way that it did after everything that you put in, everything that you went through. You're doing your thing with Beta. You're going to be racing the Nationals.
No.
Like,
Don't put that out there.
No, but I mean, I'm serious, bro. Like, you're a fucking legend.
Thank you.
You've had an insane career.
Appreciate
And
it.
to reach the levels of success that you did and to come out this dude after it all, like, unreal, dude.
Thank you for the opportunity to tell my story, and hopefully it inspires somebody.
Inspired me, dude. Zach Osborne, ladies and gentlemen. Epic, bro.
Radical. Your chairs are better than I thought.
Hey, there we go.
Still recording.
If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And to listen to the full 3-hour podcast, search Gypsy Tales in your favorite podcast platform or click the link in the description below. Gypsy Gang.